Hello, and hello to everybody. Surprise! Suddenly, it's in my channel. You have to find the comic The Crack. The Crack is split in half somewhere, and he decided that not gonna visit us this time. He has more important things than comics. Apparently, he's driving, so have a good drive.
He's
Mr.
listening
T.
to us at least.
Yeah, so at least you're gonna be in spirit. I will help you with your driving. Hopefully, just don't
Eyes
get in
on
an
the road.
accident. Yeah, because we're gonna say bona 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 bona.
Bona.
Anyway, I want to do. I'll talk to you about this. So I really enjoy this.
Cool.
Anyway, yeah. So welcome everybody. Whoever managed to turn up here to this channel, last minute call. I didn't expect it, but things happens anyway. So we here, we talk comics, and hopefully, we have. I have received my monthly books as well, so I can talk plenty. So there will be interesting conversations. So who wants to kick off? Sleepy, maybe this time. So
Okay. Let me see. I guess I'll talk first about this comic that other people probably know more about Alberto Breccia than I do. So I think I've read his stuff somewhere in other anthologies, or might he have appeared in, I don't know where, but because he seems vaguely familiar to me. And I know I've heard his name a lot on other people's channels like Terrence and Earl Gray's. But so this one is called Dracula, or Alberto Breccia's Dracula. And he is, and I only just learned this now from reading the back matter. He's from Argentina. He was there during all the horrible political times, and was often had death threats and the like against him. And I guess eventually became well known in Europe also, but I don't think he ever gained much of a foothold here in the U.S. So this is a series, and I assume from what I read in the back matter, this isn't what he always does. This is a series of wordless comics about a rather humorous, almost pitiful Dracula figure in this drawing style. So it's a bunch of short stories, such as it were, short gag pieces, featuring Dracula. Like in this one, he's at Carnival, and he has picked out a woman as his victim, and this guy dressed up as Superman at the carnival is trying to rescue her, has come to rescue her. So he actually does manage to kind of throttle Dracula and knock him away. And then I'm spoiling it. I guess I just saw people are waiting for their copy, or so maybe I won't. I want to spoil the ending of that story. But so what it kind of, some of it kind of reminds me of, but I mean in a much more elaborately painted style of kind of a Sergio Aragonés kind of silent comic. But I was informed by the back matter that underneath that this is kind of a reflection of certain dictatorships in Argentina. As the dictatorship becomes weak, it actually becomes more awful and more repressive. And that's sort of what this sort of pitiful Dracula figure perhaps represents. So I really enjoyed the art. I think I really do struggle with silent comics. And I keep losing my focus, my attention. So I would have to relook at panels a lot. And my only complaint about the art is the Dracula figure himself is so cloaked in darkness that I'm not sure he always makes a good compositional figure in the pictures, if that makes sense. I mean, obviously that's a subjective kind of thing, but sometimes I felt like that panel just looks kind of strange with this blackness, right? Plopped wherever it's plopped in the panel. But anyway, other than that, I really love the artwork, and I guess without the back matter, I would have just thought they were mildly amusing, but it does take on a different tone if you view them as kind of secretly a political commentary on this kind of like the dictatorship's like a decrepit monster. I'm getting lost in the images as I look like that. That's really cool stuff there.
Yeah.
I'd love to see the original art. I mean, obviously, this is a Fantagraphics book. The paper is beautiful and everything, but you just can't help but thinking with painted stuff like that in the real art must just really look incredible. Here's another example of where the darkness, to me, hinders it. But anyway, I don't know why I always have to complain about things.
Critique.
I'm trying to remember what this story was about. See the silence. But okay, this was one that I didn't understand, and I think it kind of has some political allegory going on. But Dracula is stalking this woman, basically. And then for some reason, he's laying on a couch next to her bed. And so I don't know if either of you have read this before and can explain that one to me.
I didn't. No, I did not.
And this one I think is one of the more political ones because it has little footnotes at the bottom translating what's in posters and on signs. So it's like state butcher shop and things like that. And the crowd chanting peace. And then this person shouting with blood in their word balloons. So, yeah. Oh, here's the most striking image of the comic with this person being tortured by these monsters. So it was both powerful and still kind of confusing to me as to what the story was. Maybe he was. Yes. Andrew Lopez says, "Is he sharing blood in that image?" You know what? I totally missed it. They're having a transfusion together. So that's his idea of a romantic night with a fellow ghoul, that they share blood.
Oh, there you go.
At least I think that must then explain it. I think I'm going to have to go back and reread these again. It's kind of a continual problem for me, I think. I mean, there are some silent comics that I really enjoy a lot, but there was another silent comic or two I read this week that I also had trouble with. So, and the final one I got a kick out of, but it was more like one of those Mad Magazine Sergio Aragonés ones. It's Dracula meets Edgar Allan Poe. And Edgar Allan Poe goes out to a bar after he's really depressed, of course. He's writing and a raven comes to visit him. He's really depressed. So we just have a long sequence of like Dracula stalking him, and then he goes to the bar and Dracula is just in the background watching Edgar Allan Poe drink and drink and drink till he pretty much passes out, but then he gets up, stumbles out, goes out into the city, and Dracula drinks his blood and then becomes incredibly drunk and gets arrested for being drunk and sent to jail. I did spoil that part, but I think that's it.
Yeah.
And a great thing about, I mean, as always with a Fantagraphics book, it completely holds out, no gutter loss, no beautiful binding. And I really loved seeing the black and white sketches at the end here. Yeah. Again, sort of, I love seeing preliminary sketches, and I often like them just as much as the final art. It looks like he's maybe working with a quill pen, not a quill pen, but one of those steel tipped pens you dip in ink.
Yeah.
Call them, but it has the look of that. So his ink sketch style is very intriguing to me. Oh, and there's some penciling also there. So it definitely, while it's a little frustrating for me in terms of reading and interpreting, it definitely makes me want to see more of his art and see what else he did. And I guess maybe if I'm remembering correctly from this back matter, that he maybe teamed up with both writers in Argentina and maybe in Europe also.
I have something here.
So this is it's kind of a good break me into finding out more about Alberto Breccia. And it's a brand new book at only $20 for this beautiful hardback too.
If you even want to pay less, maybe you can get the German version here.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what language it's in, of course.
Exactly. And I think I paid €6 or so for this hardback.
Oh my.
But I maybe upgrade on the Fantagraphics one, because I mean the color reproductions here, they look on the monitor for sure okay.
Yeah.
But if you look closely at them, this book here is from the 90s or so. And I don't know, this is, by the way, pretty obvious political commentary. With these people there. And, or this one here down there.
I don't think that was in mine.
Oh, I guess I've seen it when you flipped.
Did I flash by it with the Coca-Cola sign there?
Oh, the torture and so on. It's exactly the same stuff, minus the sketches that you've shown. I actually found myself pretty reminded of East European art and animation. In the former Czechoslovakia, Czech Republic, and so on, they did a lot of these animations that have this very painted, crude, expressive style. And somebody would have shown me the book and would have not said to me that it is by Alberto Breccia, I wouldn't come up with that name, because it looks so unfamiliar, so different from all the other stuff.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, and and actually it's colorful, it's good, but Alberto Breccia is there right on the top of everything in terms of comics, and this Dracula wouldn't do that.
So it's a minor work by him, you would say?
Yeah, maybe. I think his black and white stuff, look at this stuff here, just a random page, totally different.
Oh yeah, that is beautiful work. Look at that. Wow.
And
wow.
He's very famous for these structures that he incorporated in his panels. Maybe you can see this on this landscape there with the bridge and all that stuff. This is actually just experimental printing, if you will.
Oh, okay. I thought from on the screen, I thought maybe it was was like brushwork, like dry brushwork.
Yeah. Or actually, to come back to the kindergarten, when you put color on the paper and pull the paper off of the paper, and you get these structures all over.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it now. Yeah.
And so Paramus is highly recommended if you can. And since you, Damien, you are a bit interested in Lovecraft.
Yes.
Some of the best Lovecraft. This is the German edition, but there is some stuff by Fantagraphics as well, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
And yeah, some of the most beautiful Lovecraft adaptations that you can get your fingers on. And again,
and that looks like he's painting with a very wet brush.
Yeah, and actually with everything that comes into his hands.
So he is not afraid to try different things at different times.
Absolutely not. And highly experimental.
Well, the back of my book says this is the first volume in a series to showcase his work in color.
That's great.
So maybe they've already printed some black and white work of his. I don't know.
A bit overdue, I would say, as well. And he did a later version of this Osterheld book, Eternauta. Yeah, but this is a bit of the same style that I've shown you before. This pretty beautiful black and white style. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So Dracula is pretty interesting, the book, but yeah. And an interesting start.
Maybe it was smart of them to start with Dracula just because it's a familiar name to
maybe
like me, who's like, oh, what do I buy? Okay, Dracula, that sounds good.
Yeah, but if the people will expect with the next volume something similar, maybe they will be a bit disappointed.
Maybe.
Or however.
Or pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, so we don't know.
Yeah, so up to you guys. Mm-hmm. Suddenly we're quiet.
Looks like we've got a lot of cool people in the
Yes.
in the comments.
Yes.
Architectural foam panels.
Hello.
For Ellie one.
Forgerelli.
Forgerelli one. Andrew Lopez.
Andrew Lopez.
Rickard Westman.
Jackio.
They all seem to know more about Breccia than I do. Tylox the Mighty.
Mm-hmm.
Had you known much about Breccia, Rasa?
No, I only from watching Earl Grey's video or somebody else mentioning it, because Breccia, I think it's been mentioned a couple of times because of this, whatever you come up, you guys buy it, but never tried into dwell in his world, because like so many you can dwell into.
There's so much, yeah.
Yeah.
But in fact, I'm postponing my proper Alberto Breccia video since I'm really intimidated by this man and his works. I just
the longer you wait, the more books you have to cover.
Yeah, that's the problem. I just did a video years ago about Argentinian cartoonists, and he was a big part of that.
Okay.
Maybe that's where I first heard the name.
So is he still producing the work?
He died.
He died.
Dead, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Let me see what they say.
I see.
I think he had a pretty long career, at least in Argentina. Because he started in the 40s, it says. He got his start in the golden age of comics in the 40s. I guess they had a big comic industry then. And his first sort of well-known thing was 1946. Unfortunately, he died in 1993 from cancer.
Oh, sad.
There's a picture of him. Must be in the later years.
Oh.
He looks intense.
Yeah, it looks scary.
A little bit like Dracula.
yeah, it does do. Actually, those ears reminds more of that picture of your previous one. Maybe it's just, never know. You get inspiration from your own self, like you don't have to pay anybody to do to show your face, and you're like, oh, let's get inspired by. Like a lot of artists do that, like they tend to use their own image in some other areas, especially
that's true.
Posing and oh look, I need somebody drinking alcohol, let's say, or stuff like that. So yeah.
Some artists do look a lot like one of their characters, like Gil Kane. I always thought looked like a Gil Kane drawing.
I think like Frazetta. I mean,
Frazetta, totally, yeah.
He's plastered himself everywhere. Even his wife had to come into the picture.
His wife's backside is very familiar to me too.
So if you see somebody turn, oh, I know who you are. You don't need to turn back.
His wife. I don't even need to see her face.
No.
Monsieur Maurice says the U.S. edition of Dracula seems darker than the German one, and that may be because of the shiny paper versus the matte paper. Yeah. So I don't know which is better.
Is yours a matte paper?
It is matte paper. Yeah.
Okay, that's I guess the better choice. Yeah.
Well, it may or may not be depending on whether you want. Because it makes it very dark.
Yeah. But the German version here is a bit blurry.
Oh,
it's really. I would recommend it if you want to get a cheap one and live over here, so that the postage is not a big problem.
Yeah.
Scoop it up on eBay.
And this feels more archival, very thick paper and matte paper.
Oh, that's good. I mean,
is yours oversized too?
Yeah. European album size.
Okay.
Where does Fantagraphics print their books?
I bet they print them in China like everyone else.
On the first page, they usually tell you where it's printed, where all those informations are. Like printed, blah blah. I'm sorry, I'm just.
Put it in the back.
I'm curious where the Fantagraphics using printing sources. A lot of Canada usually printing sources are many.
Yeah, a lot of magazines are printed in Canada and a lot of books in China. I'm not finding
Oh, interesting.
where it was
They
printed.
don't want. They are having secret printers. They don't want.
It might be
disclose
somewhere here. There's a lot of different. Or sometimes it'll say on the back cover, but no, I don't see anything. But I would assume I've heard that the vast majority of hardbacks in the U.S. come from China
because it's expensive to produce hardbacks in general. Anyway, architectural foam panels. Comic Crack is busy, so he can't turn up.
He doesn't love us anymore.
He said, "I want a break, guys. You too needy for him."
We're very needy.
Yeah, so we need to. He needs a break from us. Anyway, Earl Grey, what would you like to share with us?
I do it this week, Damien style, starting with the least interesting ones. Since
wait, that's not my stuff.
Your countdown.
On my own videos.
Yeah.
I actually try to do good some of my favorites here.
I wouldn't assume that you dare to say to Alberto Breccia that this is your least.
My least favorite was Alberto.
No, can't be. No, but I have this week lots of stuff from Free Comic Book Day.
Nice.
And I put them in order. And here I have 3 of them.
Wow.
I can't be too angry about it because I haven't paid anything.
Right.
But hey, what's that, please? A new version of the Incal.
No!
I didn't even see this even on the list.
Mark Waid has all his senses together, I guess. Maybe there will be a good idea. But as far as this little booklet here goes, it's just a new rendition of the old stuff, a summary of sorts, and suddenly Incal, the coolest comic in the world, is not cool anymore, but has big, has big boobs, and
that's the only thing important.
And I'm really simple, but not that simple. Sorry, this is. I don't know. Actually, to be fair, I don't know where they're going. And after 8 pages, it's over. And here down there, they're saying John DeFool is hardly the only being to be forever changed by the Incal, the direct emanation of the divine will. Others too have had their lives transformed by its divinity. So their stories will soon be told. So maybe it's just loosely connected. I hope it's loosely connected. Otherwise, it's a sacrilege. And I really don't. I don't know.
This sounds even worse than doing Alan Moore Watchmen sequels.
That was exactly what I thought. Doing the Watchmen in European album size. It's just nonsense. Sorry. Some European cartoonist doing Watchmen would be.
Let's get Asterix meets Watchmen. I'd rather.
Doing Watchmen with Asterix. Or Spirou or so. In the back there are 2 other stories that sound, in comparison, almost sane. This is. I will watch it. I will check it out just in the shop. I don't spend money for that.
Right.
But,
is this the main publisher, Humanoids? Is the Humanoids who's doing that?
I assume so, because Mark Waid works for Humanoids now.
Oh, I didn't know that he's
their American editor-in-chief.
Okay.
Oh. Wow, okay.
I think he is a lifetime expert on Superman. Why he would be in charge of Humanoids, I don't know. I mean, I like his superhero writing, but it doesn't really track.
Yeah.
It's a really strange fit. And I mean, I love the original version of this one. And why?
Right.
Yeah.
It's just going to remind you how good the original was.
Is that means that the Humanoids got the license to do that work with somebody else? Then it means that they have actual license for this income.
It must be.
Yeah, because this is the only time I've seen anybody.
I think this could only happen after Jodorowsky died, but maybe he doesn't care and just signed off on it.
Yeah, and Möbius heirs.
And Möbius' heirs, of course, would have to sign off on it.
Yeah, that's kind of like, because we always have questions about who gets the license.
Incal now in soft cover for the first time.
Oh,
So you can get this.
Yeah, you get the original ones, guys. If you don't have it, don't even dare go that route because
this
would,
is
like,
okay. This is Gray approved. This not. So, actually,
the Red Room.
That made Red Room look better after reading that.
Yeah, this is better. I had no high hopes for this, and so I was disappointed.
Did you read it?
Not. Yeah, the first part here, Alabama Dracula. This is actually pretty nice with the evil. Yeah, nice is totally the wrong word. But this guy here is the evil guy. The reflection in the window shows us that he's actually some kind of killer clown there. And he is in his daily life this police guy who helps the kids across the street. And that page is pretty funny.
In England, it's called Lollipop Man. The guy who's lets kids cross the street is Lollipop Man in England.
Okay. Okay, the Lollipop Man, yeah. And with this Bernie Wrightson-esque teeth there. And so...
Yeah, and looking there.
Yeah, absolutely. The art is good, and I mean, Ed Piscor should be a bit more. He's a very tense character, and you see this in each panel. And for some pages, it's pretty okay. And we have this guy here. They have to sedate him and put him into this box, and what happens then, you will find out if you buy the next or the real Red Room issues here. But afterwards, it was a bit of a mess, I think. The whole idea of all these people enjoying snuff films in a YouTube style, I don't know. I can't really cope with that idea. It's the whole world is evil, and so no. But the first five pages were okay. The last one I didn't like so much was the Tick new stories from an outfit called New England Comic Press.
Yeah.
I don't know too much about Tick.
My husband's favorite character.
Oh, then I have to.
No, you can do whatever you want.
Then I have to. This is a good Tick comic. Tick goes way back.
We have this. I have to be a bit more sensitive, I guess.
No.
We have this group of strange superheroes, all a bit familiar and at the same time a bit different, enough different to get them not in copyright issues, I guess. And basically their problem is that the Tick is infested with this alien. There you
looks like Superman almost.
Yeah, the Tick is a bit strange guy, and he has this alien on his chest. And the trick they came up with, they just bore this alien to death. And how do they do it? He has to spend a day with the most boring character of the superhero group. And that's...
There's a TV show of Tick as well.
Yeah.
I think
then you know this guy here, he seems to be the most boring guy.
He's the most funniest, supposed to be.
Maybe, but they sell him here in the story as the... And afterwards he puts all his
actually
he cleans his room and does exciting stuff like folding shirts and and afterwards our alien is a dead alien in a can here. See this.
Oh, we put them in the can. Yeah. Oh, poor guy.
So. Okay, out of the three of these bottom tier comics that I got for free comic book day, by far the best. So
the Tick, he's the goofy guy. The other guy is the supposedly sane guy. He's supposed to be there, like kind of like, Tick is up
white
to
rabbit like.
Yeah. So, but originally it's like it was cartoon TV series as far as I remember.
I think there was an indie comic before the cartoon series. Scott Connor here saying the original Tick series was rather good.
Yeah.
And I vaguely remember it, and it had like a cult following or something in the 80s, and then it came out as a TV show. But presumably the one that Earl got theirs probably has none of the original creators.
No. They advertise these Echolands guy written and created comics. There it seems to be that there's a collected edition, a thick tome with all this stuff. But they didn't lured me into buying this one with that comic book.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was a spoof on superheroes when that wasn't quite so common when it first came out.
Yeah, I ordered Crisis Zone, but I haven't got it yet. But it has to arrive, I guess, next week or so.
The TV series of Tick is actually quite hilarious if you feel like having like nonchalant TV series to watch, like nothing to think about. It's just like goof. But the voice of the main actor who has that deep voice, I forgot his name, of course, because it's live TV show. I will never remember the names, but he is one of the funniest characters or actors for me because of that voice he holds. So it's hilarious to me. I picked up some new comic book day books as well, but I only managed to read. I guess I have to do my own stuff. So We Live. So Mr. Sleepy and Comic Rack has talked about it, and you guys talk, but I managed to, and I did read it, and honestly, I understand why would you, when it comes on Action on Earth, when this is before they actually became what they were, and after the first volume, it's definitely extremely entertaining, and I definitely would read more, but knowing Aftershock and what they're going to do with the price tags, I'm definitely staying away from Aftershock for now. Had a bad taste after that Buddy Mask of $4.99 price for each comic book, which is absolutely crazy. But this one was extremely entertaining. Honestly, for free comic book day, it felt so long. We usually have half of a comic book, but this one was full on. I mean, it wasn't full, like 20 pages off, because there's some preview on the other comic book, but this is really one of the good stories, and especially the end. I was like, it didn't go that way at the beginning, it was just like four kids came to find that glove or whatever, that thing, and how they decided, this is explanation how they decided to come about, and this one dude's like, come on dudes, but this is not fair, whoever comes in the fourth place, they have least choice. And but then the story, how they rounded up the storyline, definitely once you go and actually start picking up more, and they're really clever writers, I think, those two brothers, the way they did. But I don't know what they just give me sour taste from the last issue, because I really wanted a bit more kind of what they were exploring, gonna do, and then if you're gonna they're supposedly shoot in space and then explore, that would have been definitely grabbed my attention more. But I will hear what you guys say, and probably will say, oh my god, they made the biggest mistake ever for not picking it up. Earl Grey, you're definitely not gonna pick second volume, because I know you didn't really enjoy your because I got your books, which is basically thank you for that. But yeah, I had almost very similar. It's kind of like clever writing, but then somehow, I don't know, managed to make me disappointed because of the way they wanted to introduce the story afterwards. It's just, I don't know, it's just the way I felt. But hopefully, the second volume will be much better. I don't know. I'll as I say, keep an eye on you, Damien, and of course Comic Crack, because he's completely sold as well. He absolutely loves it, and I really enjoyed it. I definitely did, and I have that feeling. Oh, I would like to read more, but as I say, you never know what's going to be at the end, so I'll just wait.
Have you read it to the issue 5 now?
Yeah, I finished all of it.
Okay.
I've spoken to you guys in the videos. I gave you my opinion. I wasn't very pleased with that.
That ending, right?
Yeah, the superhero part. Anyway, so I wasn't entertained whatsoever in that sense. But this, if they would have just continued kind of in that similar fashion with the kids and conversations and how they dealing with stuff and surrounding areas, that's just really, really well done. Free comic book day issue comic book. So. Yeah. So we're sleepy. What else do we have?
Well, I haven't read all of this week's new comics yet, but I'm guessing that Echolands will become my number 1 book, which you may have seen is a sideways comic that opens up like this, and it's J.H. Williams and his co-writer W. Hayden Blackman and Dave Stewart on colors, and Todd Klein on letters. And it is gorgeous. It is so gorgeous. And it's the kind of thing visually that you can just go over it 5 or 6 times and notice more cool things. He packs so many different things in the images, and also the incredible layout of the images. When you realize, for instance, that this picture here goes across the entire thing, and a lot of his information is not just to be pretty. It gives you kind of some world building, and just sort of gives the story, the world the story set in a kind of uniqueness and a hint at larger vistas of what may be going on. So it's like right now, I really liked the story and everything. I do think in the past his better work has been with other writers than Hayden Blackman, but I'm enjoying it so far. It's up to them to spoil it or something, but it seems to be some kind of fantasy world that blends a bunch of different, or maybe thousands of different kind of fantasy worlds together into one. And so to me, the characters seem really interesting. The setting is very intriguing. I mean, it's kind of a story where a thief steals something, and it's the thing they've stolen is kind of the MacGuffin, so to speak, some really important magical device that everyone wants. And there's an evil wizard who rules the city. So it's kind of simple on that level, but if done right, as the art makes you feel it will be, it can still be this kind of amazing story, I think, despite its kind of simplistic backbone. But we'll see in the long run. But I just love this. So this is the one page spread that a lot of people show that they're very impressed by, and I'm not. My least favorite, the heads exploding. I feel like anyone can do heads exploding in a big shot, but not everyone can do these other kind of pages. And so it is a $5 book, not a $4 book. And they pad it out with some text material at the end, so it's longer than your regular comic, but I'm not sure if it's more pages of art. But I still feel it's on really nice paper.
Do they say
if there's no way I'd want this in a paperback, for instance? I would have to get it in a high quality hardback with really good binding, because you don't want anything to get in the way of these. Every page is a double page spread. And so this is what he can do when there's no one but himself telling him what he's allowed to do. No need for advertisements or other commercial considerations. So I feel like it lives up to my anticipation, which often, my anticipation will get in the way of things. They do have a thing. I didn't read all the back matter. They have something here, which I think is a interview with one of the characters in the comic, and I wasn't that interested in that for some reason, so I haven't read that. But then there's other stuff from both Hayden Blackman and from J.H. Williams about the genesis and the long time they've been working working on it, which I did think was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then to me, mildly interesting, but kind of excessive is J.H. Williams lists every single song he was listening to while drawing this, which is a lot of music.
Well,
He spent
because
a lot of time drawing it, so he listened to a lot of music. It's interesting where his musical tastes run. Styx and David Bowie, Burt Bacharach, Talking Heads, Sun Ra. Some things I haven't heard of, like I've never heard of Gene Page from the Dracula soundtrack, The Cars, Mott the Hoople, Funkadelic. So I'm thinking a mix of kind of psychedelic stuff and then other kinds of rock. ELO, a lot of David Bowie.
Yeah.
Jefferson Starship. So anyway, I mean, I hope he doesn't list all the music every issue, but it was interesting to get a glance at once.
Oh, so is it ongoing? Or is it?
They didn't mention it having an endpoint.
Oh, interesting.
There's got to be. They're gonna. I mean, it must take a lot of time to draw this, so there's got to be that they at least are going to have to take some hiatuses or whatever if they go on for a long time.
They put out 2 versions of this book.
The next version is coming up in September.
No.
The raw cut edition is coming up in September.
Yeah, okay. And I ordered both, the normal one and the raw, because I saw a J.H. Williams III and this landscape format and thought, hey, even though I don't know actually what this raw cut version is, somehow
black
the text on overlay or so.
Yeah, they don't explain if it's just a black and white version or if there's something more. It doesn't say here. It just says raw cut edition on sale. I'll probably check it out in the shop and either.
Yeah. Good for you. My next shop is.
You don't have that option. Sorry.
A day trip away.
But I think it may be worth getting, especially if you're a huge fan of his art. And I also like the way they've embedded certain recurring sort of graphics, like this arrow, which appears on some people's outfits, and then this triangular shape. So both of those are kind of recurring graphic themes. And I like that kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, we're in the hands of a master here. So it's very, very exciting.
So do you think it's because he hasn't been producing quite a few things lately? So do you think he only was concentrating on this, and this is his focus for now?
Yeah, I think this is what he's been doing ever since he did that Sandman
overture.
Obviously, to do work like he does, it must take a lot of time.
I see.
I wondered, did he Photoshop that? But I don't think he does use Photoshop. I think he just shifts styles a lot. I don't know. Maybe he did Photoshop in like a wall or something. I'm not sure. But he has multiple styles, and he uses them all, or uses a bunch of them together in concert here, which could be a mess in the hands of someone who doesn't know what they're doing, but it's very effective.
Same for me, Scott Connor. I still haven't touched Promethea. I know that he's there.
I read Promethea in the original issues, or most of it, but I keep waiting for a nice hardcover because they kept promising a hardcover that would do the double page spreads justice, but it never came out. I think they have some version of it, but it's they were promising one that was going to be sideways, where each page was a full double page spread.
But this one is very what Earl Grey holds up. It's really nice.
Yeah. Is that the Absolute?
Yeah.
And
is the binding good on it? Because I've seen some bad Absolutes.
Binding is
so okay, because some of DC's Absolutes have tons of gutter loss.
Yeah, not with this one. The problem with the Absolute editions of Promethea is that Volume 1, it was a 3-part Absolute, 3 volumes,
and it's out
and number 1 is absolutely nowhere to find. So I looked long time, and afterwards I went for these trade paperbacks just to get the story complete.
Yeah, it's like you mentioned.
She has everything.
Yeah, it looks
and
like
it's all somehow within reach.
Yeah,
like
the storage is very, very interesting. Like it seems to be reads your minds.
It's the magic Earl Grey bookshelf.
Yeah, it looks like he has this. Yeah, you keep on showing us those shelves you put your books, but it seems to be every single time we chat, you like really quickly pick up everything. It's like amazing magic. Magic.
A lot of stuff is not in order. My head is a mess and everything, but my comics are there where they have to be.
Yeah. So, Mr. Earl Grey, show us another magic. Put your hand in there, and what are we gonna have?
Now free comic book day.
Oh, more free comic day. Okay.
I'm working my way up. Now. And this is rank number 3.
That's German.
The others shared somewhere some rank below. This is actually marked as comics for kids, as you can guess by the cover. Even though I would dare to say that no kid of today would touch such an old-fashioned comic. It's more, I would say, it's comics for gray-haired guys, like or women, or however, comic readers with nostalgic feelings. Yeah.
So people above 30, so you're saying, yes?
Yeah, I would say, but this would not make a catchy line there. For comics for old people with nostalgic minds. However, it's about this tramp, vagabond, Valentine. And the whole story is about, do you see him here? It's a monkey that was manipulated by some, again, crazy scientist, like we have them a lot in these kind of comics. And some villains that hunt this monkey for to get hold of this animal, but our Valentine comes between them, and there's a lot of slapstick, like the Marx Brothers. I felt a lot of this wordy banter. Felt me. I feel reminded a lot of the Marx Brothers in this comic here.
Don't kids these days love the Marx Brothers?
No. No, they're boring. But I like them, and so I felt.
Lots of classic cars. I think kids these days wouldn't even know that it's actually vehicle.
Yeah. And maybe for those of you who like or have bit interest in European comics, you will recognize the way these noses are drawn here, because the whole stuff is drawn by one Tabary. What's his prename? Jean Tabary? However. And written, of course, by Goscinny, who is the writer of Asterix. Was later on the writer of Asterix. So, and Tabary was the artist behind Is No Gut. To be the Caliph instead of the Caliph was his line. It's a comic that plays in the Orient, in Baghdad and so on, and shares a lot of this whimsical, cartoony humor like Asterix. Very comic, yeah. I checked out in before, maybe. Maybe someone knows the English translation for Is No Good. So that, but yeah, pretty entertaining.
I think it's done as Is No Good, because it's a play on words. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's no good. Yeah.
Yeah, I read it somewhere. Is that Paper Cuts?
Paper Cuts?
Is the publisher of that comic Paper Cuts?
Ach so, no. This is a new publisher, All Verlag.
So
it's
was
a
this
German
not in English?
the
This
old
was not in the American Free Comic Book Day.
No.
Because I think Paper Cuts has published some of that Is No Good guy. Because it works perfectly in English. His name is No Good.
Yeah. Now that you say it, yeah. It works in German, of course, as well, because sometimes our languages are not so different.
Right.
Yeah.
We are basically half Germanic and half French.
Yeah, I mean, I live in a region called Anglia. That's where the Anglo-Saxons
come from. Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, but that's definitely
teacher taking over.
Yeah.
We're all related somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely probably are.
We have.
Go on.
A further tangent. We have a museum over here with some mummies from, and
Egypt.
There is it's just a table of information at the wall, and it says that when there are a certain amount of people in this room, 10 or so, it's very possible or probably probable that they are related to each other. So yeah.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah.
So we are all cousins, okay?
We're all cousins.
Which means we've all married our cousins.
Oh, incest! Shame!
That's just that just goes for the royalties on that island of hers.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, let's. Okay, so I'll talk about this, Damien? Look what I got.
Woohoo! Robots, nice one.
So I actually really enjoyed it. I found it very entertaining read.
Me too.
And
playing too much last time.
Yeah. And I probably one of the since the Flintstones, I haven't found what Mark Russell's really entertaining reads, because they weren't, maybe for me, I don't know. But this one felt really good because of the way they started the comic book. At first, I didn't just took my time to understand what's happening, and then slowly you get into the minds of those robots, and it's like I don't know. It's like you said that there's a back matter saying that Mark Russell has his fear, and he usually does it and writes about whatever his fears about. So I guess his fears of our robots having to invade us in our homes because we're trying to go in that realm. But in here, the way he's representing humans, it's like it's funny. I think it was even written in here in the comic books, like little hamsters in their own pretty houses. They've been taken care of, they've been fed, and what else do they want from us? And that's one of the robots we were talking about, and they really need what can we do? We just work our asses off, and it seems to be they were talking about humans have this feelings. They always brag, they always have something is wrong with them, very fragile and stuff like that. And then suddenly, while they talk, those robots talk to each other. It feels like those robots aren't very strong as well. It seems to be that what the program they have, that to make sure that they not they are I don't know what that program is, to make them a bit more sensible, I guess, towards us. And then this Orlando bubble really it actually in a way didn't shock me, but it's it made me feel where we're going to end up with this, because it seems to be not very good for humans, to be honest, because the robots have the virus, or they kind of integrate the virus inside them, where they basically become for themselves, and they want to survive now. And in here, I'm showing you just 3 pictures of this female who's having that talk show conversation. Doesn't she look like Lucy Lawless?
Yeah, I didn't think of that, but you're right.
but yeah, it just those three panels here. It's just I could not stop thinking about her. But anyway, so because I think what's his artist's name, Mike Deodato Jr. I think he does use lots of like pictures, isn't it? It's
I think he does use a lot of photos.
Because it's way too clean for facials. But anyway, as I say, this interactions with the robots, I think is the most entertaining. Human part is just there, I think, for him as a like playing thing or something like that. But the robots are a key in the storyline, and so far I'm thoroughly entertained, and I really wanted to know exactly where he's going to take the story because of what happened in the Orlando bubble. So because they are becoming kind of evil, and I really wish I also had this cover rather than this. But because I really like that cover because of the famous picture, of course.
Right.
But in this black and white, it seems even better looking than actually the color version of your like you went on the cover. So, yeah, really thoroughly entertained. I had a couple of giggles. I actually didn't think. I thought maybe it's going to take really overly serious, like in conversation of like where how everything's going. But so far, this is one of the. Hopefully will be one of the Mark Russells I'm going to continue reading because I really and I'm a huge fan of Flintstones generally, and what he was doing with Flintstones didn't really even made me more entertained about Flintstones in generally. So this is really gives me hopes. Hopefully will continue in that. And I honestly it's the first time I'm actually getting Upshot comic book because I've seen you, Damien, showing a couple of the.
Yeah, I tried a bunch of them.
Yeah, but yeah, this is my first one. So, and isn't it the guy from Marvel who is in charge?
Yeah.
Isn't he? Yeah,
He used to be the editor-in-chief of Marvel, and then they suddenly fired him and replaced him.
Yeah, so they are. I guess he's a new company. Yeah, he's doing that everything. Yeah. So that's why he able to get all the Mark Russell, Mike Deodato, and Lee Lorridge as a team to work on this comic book anyway.
Right.
So.
Yeah, he's gotten a lot of big people to work for them.
Yeah.
Peter Milligan and lots of others.
Yeah. Which is good, I guess, for a company like that to want to establish. They need some basis what people are familiar with. But yeah, I'm looking forward to second issue for sure. This is proper. Like I like when robotics gets to that kind of mode, and we know like people will like really freak out. Like I don't want to actually see if humans are able to do something about it, or they all be just there for the doomsday, even though the doomsday is already there because of the way the living conditions they have, like all those bubbles, and there's nothing outside. It's all grim because of play of what's been talking in news in real life, really what's happening to like what we saying like save the planet, save the planet, save the planet. It seems to be the planet wasn't safe, so and the solution was to get your robots to do the jobs for you, but it doesn't look very good for you. So yeah, so I really liked it. I'm glad I picked it up. From the beginning I saw it and I was very curious, and I guess I'm glad I wasn't disappointed. So yeah, very good.
I think I try almost every Mark Russell comic, but
none
of them quite come up to the Flintstones. Some of them are very good. I liked Billionaire Island, but they don't come up to the level of Flintstones. Maybe this one will. It's off to a good start. I just, my first reaction was kind of wanting the Steve Pugh art or something, but I think I can get used to the art that's there. Yeah,
the art is definitely not like, I think I've seen Mike Deodato Jr.'s art better, whatever he was doing, maybe in Marvel work when he was working there. But it seems to be here. It's maybe he's trying something different, or maybe it's in a later stage of
style. In recent years.
Yeah, exactly. But look, we'll see. We'll see where he's going to take.
Alberto Breccia.
No, that's a bit of a comparison.
It's something other.
That's a little bit bad for Mike Deodato Jr. Sorry for that, but yeah, but Mike Russell, like I think Steve Pugh really have they vibe really well. It seemed to be. It's just no matter where the Mark Russell was taking the humor part, especially that humor, the way he was taking it, CPU just picked it up right moments, like right paneling, like facial expressions, and that's why it was so entertaining. I think the Flintstones in generally. So the people who hasn't read Flintstones from Mark Russell, you should guys get hold of it and have a read and see what you, of course, think about it. But definitely, I really enjoyed it. So.
Yeah, it's just still a big difference if you really draw something or just take some photos and arrange them. I would say this double page where you see the three heads of the woman and the man.
Yeah.
I mean, I have total confidence that Mark Russell can't do no wrong. Yeah, exactly that one. It's
yeah. We'll see.
Not really what I like. So.
Is he just taking photos and putting filters on them there, or is he
looks
redrawing
like
with the photos reference?
It feels a bit more like it's like tracing, to be honest. I'm sad to say that, but because when you start doing that, you need your freehand to give the texture to anything, because the more, like, let's say your facial expressions, your body, like your face has so many muscles to move. So when you start just using a picture, it's just very still and cold image, no matter how people smiling or whatever you try to copy of that. So it really feels like it. I don't know. That's a good skill if somebody can use a picture of a person and actually put like kind of like texture to it afterwards, especially the coloring as well really would help. So maybe that would be another thing for another one. But the art isn't amazing, to be honest, for sure.
Well, I mean, I want art that the line has the personality of the artist in it. And if it's just a filtered picture, I guess it still tells the story in a way, but it loses something. I guess.
It's a lot of there's another artist, I think he was working quite a few Marvel, like
Greg Land.
Yeah, I think so, because it just felt like off all the time.
He was also infamous for tracing women from porno, so that a lot of the women in his comics had these weird expressions on their faces.
There's this pretty entertaining video by Comic Tropes. There's this YouTube channel called Comic Tropes, and he did a whole episode about Greg Land and his inspirations.
It would be interesting if somebody would actually find Mag or female.
They did.
Oh,
People have done it. I've seen several videos where they found images that he took directly from.
Oh my god!
Caught red-handed.
Architectural Foam Panels was asking if we've discussed Substack. I don't know if we talked about it last week. I've talked about it twice in my Sleepy Vlogs. I probably will again if I do another Sleepy Vlog. And I had a nearly endless discussion of it with Bueller on his show, the Coffee and Comics show. If you guys have thoughts about Substack, I'd be happy to hear them. But I think I've blathered on about it a lot.
To be honest, there's only one artist who I follow via those newsletters they send you via email. It's Scott. Scott. Oh my God, Scott! What? Scott? That funny thing. Scott Young. Yeah. So he was mentioning there, but I absolutely blanking that because I don't know much about information about Substack in general, so I won't even speak. But it's already passes my brain, and I don't think I even gonna go that way because I think it's like a subscription version of comic books, isn't it? But
and it may be different from every person. Like Scotty Young, I think is just gonna do a few short stories adjacent to his regular work. James Tynion is promising full-on comics there, and Scott Snyder is just giving writing lessons on Substack. So I don't know what's going on with it, but I had subscribed to the James Tynion newsletter as an experiment, with my excuse being I could talk about it on my videos.
Yeah,
and I did once read some quotes from one of his locked subscriber only letters.
Yeah.
But the more recent ones have not been very interesting. So I don't know if that was a good experiment or not. I'll probably be canceling it soon.
Yeah.
Don't trust anyone named Scott. That's a lifetime rule.
Says Scott Connor.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I honestly, there's lots of like people that commenting about it, but I just passes me by. I just continue having my little world of comic books, which I tend to pick up in that format, or if I don't, it's in digital format. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, I don't think I think the only effect on comics it's going to have is that for a while, a few creators are going to get hundreds of thousands of dollars from this startup.com, which will then go under, and then everything will return to normal.
We never know.
For a few years, I was paid way more for writing than I ever was before or after during the first .com boom in like 1999, 2000. It spoiled me. But it went away, and no one actually read what I wrote for those places. They just thought somehow they were going to make a lot of money somehow.
I follow Scott Young's newsletter because I want Gertrude's new stories, because she's promising. So that's why I always follow, because I know he was promising all the time. And there's another character he has, which I follow his art most of the time. I enjoy his art. But there's this about the boy. There's just pictures. He's keep on promising to release something new or like a storyline, but he's been doing that for so long that he's actually probably, even himself says, he's kind of hesitant to go to actually write a story about it. So, and then plus it's something what his own thing. So I guess his priority now is just to make money, like daily, to get your bills paid, and then maybe we'll do that as well. So anyway, Damien, what can you show us next?
Okay, I gotta organize myself a little bit.
Ooh, intrigue.
Well, no, it's not that exciting. But I'm gonna. Whoops.
Not that
Dang
one.
it. I'm missing one. Oh, there it is.
Oh.
Last week I talked about reading Stalker #1, and now I've read Stalker 2, 3, 4.
Wow.
And I think I'm going to do my little trick with my other camera. So give me a second to set up screen sharing.
Okay.
Where did it go? Oh, there it is. Okay. There you. Whoops.
No, it's okay. I'll put it.
Okay.
There you go.
There. So you can see my hands. That's exciting. But what I really wanted to show you was the artwork while I talk about it. So, as you may remember, it's Steve Ditko inked by Wally Wood, which I guess also happened, when Steve Ditko did some Thunder Agents. So that's the other place you can find the two of them working together. And I just saw an interview with Steve Ditko's nephew, who said that he and Wally Wood really liked each other and respected each other a lot. Okay. So it might have been fun for them to work together. It only lasted 4 issues, and I don't know if they ever did this character again very much at DC. But it definitely, there's no writing credit for Steve Ditko, but it feels like it has this kind of intensity that I would think of as a Steve Ditko kind of thing. This guy is just journeying to hell, basically, or some version of hell, to get his soul back. And each issue is a step closer to the doorway to this version, this God's hell dimension. And it's just it's fun, but it's kind of soulless. But I really enjoyed reading, one issue a night, and I just have this particular love for that Wally Wood style, and I'm also a Steve Ditko fan, but it does feel more Wally Wood than anything else. So I get a kick out of just seeing a lot of Wally Wood doing sword and sorcery kind of settings. It reminds me a lot of a Michael Moorcock type of, like Elric or other Michael Moorcock stories, with the flawed and kind of, the hero's goal is not noble. It's just to get his soul back, because he wanted revenge, and there's no fun getting revenge when you have no soul.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't even care if once he dies, his soul is damned, which it probably is. So there's some interesting ideas in here, like that that these gods may have come from outer space and then been banished to dimensions outside of this world, and kind of continue to have an influence on the world, but from their banished dimensions that they've been banished to. So this hell might just be the dimension.
Oh, look at
banished
that
to.
female, so pretty.
This is a really cool female character who turns out to not be what she seems to be. And here's some cool layouts and stuff, like this panel. That's kind of interesting. A lot of it's just on the regular grid, but yeah, it leaves me. I mean, I'm a big sword and sorcery fan. It leaves me wishing for more, particularly with this art team. It was written by Paul Levitz when he was like 19 years old. And sometimes I wish there was less writing covering up the art.
Yeah.
But he does a decent enough job, keeping up that intensity.
It's really Wally Wood rather than Ditko.
Yeah. Wally Wood is a very dominating inker.
Yeah. It's like, let me just touch up this a bit better.
Right. But it's Ditko's visual storytelling.
True.
And Ditko's designs, I assume.
Yeah.
Ditko was a good designer. And so he had to create everything from scratch here. Although I do think the way the woman's dressed reminds me a bit of Kirby kind of stuff.
I was straight away thinking Big Barda.
Yes, she has a bit of a Big Barda vibe. Yeah, so here's a brief panel where they talk about the legend of the gods who sailed not upon the sea, but from the sky. So there would have been lots of stuff to explore if this series had continued. But, if I found these quite inexpensively, but if you're a fan of these artists and of sword and sorcery, I think it's something to pick up someday. I guess it's a little bit like my discovery of Rima for me, although probably not as good as Rima was in terms of the writing and stuff. But it's just this neat little 4 issues. I guess it's remembered a bit more than Rima was, but it's pretty obscure. It's interesting, during his brief time at DC during the mid 70s, he created Stalker and and Creeper, which both seem like men who are stalking women, perhaps.
Yeah.
Oh, I really like this 3-headed creature he fights. So yeah, I mean, I was lucky enough because of a free Comics Day sale to get these for $2 a piece.
Nice. What a score!
I think normally they would cost more than that, but I don't think they would cost a whole lot. Yeah, this is a really cool scene where he fights skeletons, and then he fights a dragon. And just when I was thinking, boy, he's just going to fight one thing after another, the character thinks the same thing and says, wait a minute, am I just going to spend forever in this dimension fighting one thing after another? Once he realizes not to fight, they disappear as illusions.
Oh.
And then and then it's revealed that it's this god's plan all along, with his whole search for his soul, is somehow going to make him even more of a servant to this god. So he almost defeats the god, but then at the end, the god sends him back to Earth rather than killing him, and future struggles will continue. At one point, he leads an army of the damned against the god, which I thought was a fun sword and sorcery kind of epic moment. So anyway, yeah, I highly recommend these, at least, for people whose taste is similar to mine. Obviously, if you don't like sword and sorcery, it's just a whole bunch of drivel.
Yeah.
But nicely drawn drivel.
But beautiful drivel, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think, I don't know why all of the sword and sorcery at DC failed while all of the sword and sorcery at Marvel was so successful. But it may be that it judging from this, it was a little too cold. It didn't have a sense of humor about itself, and it didn't, even though Sword and Sorcery is just all about hacking and slashing and strange monsters and stuff, it just didn't have quite the richness and texture and some sense of humanity to it that maybe even Conan stories have.
If you put this character into, how do I go back now to?
Here, I can get rid of my.
Okay. No, don't get rid of it. Just find out anyway. If you put blue skin to that character, it could be looking like Nightcrawler. The way he looks, the hair, the ears, the teeth.
This one, or
the main character, Stalker.
Main character.
Yeah, he looks like Nightcrawler for me.
Oh, Nightcrawler. You're right.
Yeah,
you're right. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you right at first.
Yeah.
So. He looks a lot like Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
And Nightcrawler was probably created a year or two after this. When is this? 1975. When was Nightcrawler created?
When Giant Size #1 came out, 80s.
I think Giant Size #1 X-Men was in the 70s.
Was it? Yeah. So that's his first appearance.
Yeah. That's his first appearance. Yeah, in the Giant Size X-Men #1.
Yeah, the thing which I will regret forever.
You had a copy?
No, I didn't buy the copy, which was very cheap in convention. And I said, nah, it's too expensive. And now it's out of reach forever. Bye. Maybe somebody who wants to send it to me want a copy. It can be a very trash, to be honest. As long as I would have it, that would be amazing. But even the trashed ones is crazy price these days. I mean, just because of they hiccup X-Men or somebody in the mention, and that's it. It just blows up out of proportion. Like if you've seen the ETA Nick doing this all the time by selling some of the X-Men books, he's like, I'm going to be so rich. It's ridiculous.
Anyway. Evan Mubarak is saying nice things about my setup. It's because I love technology and I bought this expensive camera.
Yeah, he's fancy.
Supposedly for teachers during COVID to have displays to their students.
Yeah, but he wants to do it all the time now, Damien. You have to do it all the time.
But he wants you guys to do it too, but I'd have to send you a camera.
Yes. Please. Send us.
Actually, my
Earl might have one right on the shelf next.
No. My wonderfully beloved school. They have been saying for, I don't know, 2.5 years since I'm there, we get these cameras, but I still haven't seen any.
And I think I paid more than I should have, considering how much I actually use it. But it's one of my endless COVID decadent purchases.
It's actually pretty good. The resolution is pretty okay.
Yeah. I can't make it focus. It just chooses on its own when to focus and when not to.
Yeah. If you have shaking hands, maybe a bad teacher. I can't see, teacher. Show me the picture. That would be hilarious. Everybody would fail in school because the teacher has shaky hands.
And Scott Connor mentions the Lovecraftian aspect.
Well, that's why you like it.
They don't look Lovecraftian, but yes, that other dimensional stuff. And I mean, Lovecraft is just everywhere when you start thinking about it.
Yeah. You can't get away from that.
Absolutely. I thought about doing a video about Lovecraft-inspired comics, and it got so big so pretty soon, just thinking about it, the whole Hellboy stuff and so on. I had to narrow it down to real adaptations, or as they shoved me in the commentaries to my last video, this is a reinterpretation, The Providence by Alan Moore and so on. And but it's a wide world.
Yeah.
And Paulo here mentions the Milton Caniff influence. And I had not thought about Wally Wood and Milton Caniff, but I'm sure that's true. I mean, I think Hal Foster, Milton Caniff, and the guy who did Flash Gordon, that's
Alex Raymond.
Like everything for that generation of American artists. But Milton Caniff probably on a deeper level, probably is the most influential of all, I would guess.
Okay, Earl Grey. Turn to you.
Since I'm
Magic
the
bookshelf.
ambassador of German beer here,
Oh,
this is really a recommendation. It's if you ever get, maybe they export this into other lands. It's Rauchbier, smoked beer, and the malt is smoked, and it's still German Reinheitsgebot and so on. It's still real beer, but it tastes like bacon. It smells like bacon, and if you drink it, the first sips of this beer, you have to put your your handy mobile handy to shot these faces when because but afterwards when the surprise is gone, it's a fantastic beer. But I don't want to talk about beer. I want to talk about my second favorite
Firepower.
Free Comic Book Days. Firepower, yeah.
It's last year's Free Comic Book Day.
Maybe, yeah, probably. But they hoarded here in the comic book shop, so I ordered it, and they didn't make a difference between those from last year and this year. And you know about this book here, and it's not such a big surprise. Actually, I still don't think that I will go all in with Firepower, because the story about the superhero guy with his special abilities to throw fireballs, yeah, it's okay. But this issue here is pretty interesting. The family dynamics and how his special abilities are introduced here, because while he's doing a race with his daughter to the supermarket, and we just see him then doing some special stuff so that he can arrive before his daughter in the supermarket. She was already thinking that the special setup of Damien is really something to consider, I guess. But and here she has the smug face because she thinks, okay, I got my dad, but no. And yeah, there's obviously something more going on with him, and we just get some glimpses into a past. 10 years ago, he was at some kind of temple, but now he's this kind of tame, a bit boring, but very nice family father, and something that I really can relate to. And yeah, so the whole story is really nice, and actually I felt I got enough of this guy and his world to be satisfied with, and maybe that was not the intention with this Free Comic Book Day issue here, but I don't need more. But it was really, I really was glad that I picked up this issue, and the Chris Samney art is of course very very nice. Chris
Samney, and it's that really good colorist Matt Wilson, I think.
Yeah.
I got about the first 5 or 6 issues, and I think you made the right call, Earl. It was fun, but I didn't get very excited where it was going or anything. It was just going exactly where you thought it would go. So as far as I went, and I just sort of lost interest.
And it has this David Mazzucchelli vibe to his drawings, and which is always a good thing.
As you're a fan of Mazzucchelli's, for sure.
Yeah.
How many Batmans do you have for Mazzucchelli?
No, I just went crazy with The Killing Joke, and just this one, that's totally enough. But actually, I said once in an older video, I don't want to have this absolute of Batman Year One of David Mazzucchelli, and then I said I won't get the absolute version of Wonder Woman by Azzarello and Chiang, and I totally got both of them because these series are so great and
Well, if you don't want that Batman 1 year one absolute, it goes for crazy price on eBay, so you can make money. Yeah, have a look.
Okay, you're tempted.
No. Told him it's not worth much and just send it to you.
Yeah, yeah, it would be nice. I mean, I don't even. I have 2 issues in single format. I never bought hardcovers or nothing. But since I saw that Mazzucchelli's artist editions, when somebody, I think it was who showed? I think Damien. Did you show the artist edition, or was it those people?
I don't think I have his artist edition.
The K-Fapes.
K-Fapes, there you go. Sell, comic racks. Sell.
I have a Samney artist edition.
Yeah.
You could do a whole series of videos on artists who were influenced by David Mazzucchelli.
Yeah.
Or want to be David Mazzucchelli sometime.
Yeah, and I just have a few books by him, and all are very different. This Asterios Polyp book and the rubber blankets stuff. Now I know that the series was called Rubber Blankets, but it was just a very worn out, beaten up copy of some more experimental stuff by him, which I loved and still love.
He hasn't published anything in a long time, I don't think. I wonder if some major thing is going to come out, or if he's just off doing other things. I've seen illustrations by him in the New Yorker, but I assume that's just the occasional kind of thing.
But you still like him, despite of working.
Well, I even still like my wife, who reads the New Yorker. Now I get to look at the cartoons.
Or the frontier in the family going on.
Yes, but good for you to remember my reverse snobbery about the New Yorker.
And you keep on looking at it. Oh, let's check what it's all about.
Yeah, this sucks. Oh, they're such rotten people.
Yeah. So I guess it's my turn now. I wish I had your camera now, to be honest, because I want to compare. But now it's just, I don't know what's happening here anyway. So I'm continuing to Sandman World, and this is the next one. I don't have the volume I need from library that time, because there's some amount of volumes I can get from library in order to keep them. But I had a couple of the beginning issues, and this beginning of issue 17 of volume 3 is a Sandman's Dream Country. So what I wanted to do is, so this is the original print, and I have in the digital format trade, because I wanted to continue reading the whole volume. But what really kind of like shocked me is the coloring. And then you remember, you guys, I showed you in the previous video how the Sandman's at the beginning, reprinted volume trade paperback I had, and now I'll show you. This is kind of like, I didn't expect to be this different. So the first page in comparison. So this is the first page of the comic book, and this is the first page of the digital format. And as you can see, colors changed, quite a few things, and then mood even changed. Oh, now it's gonna be, give me that camera. Anyway,
wow, that's very different.
Yeah. Oh, you see, how bad. This is so much more entertaining. It has better vibe because of the color scheme, so much darker and grimmer. Because the story in here wasn't like very joyful, to be honest. And it seems to be, for this volume, these issues are kind of one-off stories. So this one is called Calliope, and Calliope is about this female who's been, of course, captured. It's the ongoing theme of this Sandman, is those gods get captured by humans in need of whatever their selfishness. So this Calliope was taken by this grim-looking character, a very aged man, a writer, and she's apparently, when you get a writer's block, she's the one to get. You have to capture her. So this guy wanted this another writer, the younger writer, came to him as a help, saying, you know, like, you need to find this special thing, and he wanted this trichinobizo, I can't even pronounce it, that the special ball of fur, in order to have its properties, in nothing can happen to you if you eat it, I presume. Anyway, so he gets hold of it, this writer, and he says, okay, this is your gift, and this is how we get introduced to this Calliope. So Calliope, as I say, she's I don't know, it's like a muse, inspirational muse for writers, and then so the guy who was given to him, he has a complete writer's block. He has to produce a book. He already has assigned like contracts for writers, and the agents keep on calling him. We need to produce that book you were promising to us. So what he does is takes this female away to his house, and guess for inspiration, the first thing he does is he rapes her. So that's a lovely way of dealing with, like, for inspiration. So because he couldn't get away from this beautiful yellow locks, and I'll show you another page, I guess. Let's see how yellow her locks are in. Yeah, it looks horrible. So this is what you see in the comic book, which is lovely, that outstanding looking color, and then you have a digital format of her. It looks dull and uninteresting. So disappointing with digital format trade you have. So yeah, absolutely. And I really liked this so much more. So I thankfully had this couple of issues, and now I actually kind of disappointed that I have further ones, because I really don't want to look at in digital format trade, but I will finish it anyway. So this story ends up being that Sandman gets involved because she's asking for help. And then she knows Sandman, of course, but she doesn't want it to get involved because apparently they have history behind it. But Sandman comes and helps her and basically frees her. And this dude basically ends up into kind of giving her away, and he, as far as I remember, is basically gone a bit crazy, starts scratching himself, and he went into Arkham Asylum. So that's his end for being douchebag, for raping the female Calliope. And then the second one issue I was reading is about cats, and how cats can dream and have wishes, and how they hate humans. So that's the first page of this. So this little kitten having fun, and then suddenly you realize that you're actually reading, and they are having conversations, and they have to meet this cat. Let's meet up all over in the family, in the area. All the cats goes to this cemetery waiting for this another cat, and it's called Dream of 1,000 Cats. And basically, this cat came to tell her life story, that she was believing that, humans, they take care of them, the animals, the only thing what they do is just be there for them, entertain them. But she basically has kittens, and then her kittens get drowned by her owners. And from that point onwards, she gets really angry because she thought that humans are, treating them really well. So in order to find a solution how to kind of escape, she goes into dream world, so start dreaming and meets Sandman, or Sandman in the format of a cat. So it seems to be that no matter who you see as Sandman will appear, but in whatever in the kind of shell you wanted him to be. So this is Sandman, and it's like, why, little kitten, why you came to all this trouble to Dreamworld? Because it's not safe for you to go in there. And she's like, I want to see the point of why we're here, why we're in existence. And then he tells us a story how the cats actually in the world, in the true world, cats were bigger than humans, and humans were an entertainment for the cats. They were treating them like they were feeding them, and but then humans decided that they will take all together and they will dream for better, and that's how actual reality changed for cats. Because after that dreaming, the cats became nothing, and they were smaller. they were less important. They were becoming like just as an entertainment. So her mission, this cat's missions were to talk to each cat of the world, travel as many miles as she can to change the same thing. So cats will dream for bigger. So if they all dreamed in the same dream, the world will change to where they were the predators and not the prey. I say it this way. So really cool, entertaining Sandman. Well, it's like one-off, but still with Sandman in there. So I'm not sure what happened in the production line. Maybe how they were, like producing this comic book from each month to each month. But really, I thought at the beginning I will lose the time of I want to continue having Sandman going through whatever he needs to go through in order to be whatever he does. But this actually, those one-off issues really entertained reads. I mean, thoroughly, you get established characters, kind of things, and it's just, you go into this kind of weird dream world, it kind of felt like you were dreaming what you were reading. So very good. But that digital format is really kind of drives me a bit bonkers because I am a huge fan, honestly. This is the newsprint comic books is my favorite. I always enjoy that more than these day and age comic books paper than the DC. I think now is trying the new comic books, putting in that kind of newspaper type
slightly matte paper.
Which I'm okay with it as well, but still, but this was what I feel like all the vertical lines, all this kind of that era comic books really kind of really entertaining and really, I don't know, I like that the way the blacks comes to it. If it's black, it's really black, you know what I mean? So in a sense, I'm thoroughly in Sandman. I'm going to continue strong now. I'm going to go into finishing this volume. I'll go to next one and the next one. I am very happy because I gave one trade paperback to my library. I got another one, so it's kind of difficult because I guess it's popular for people to read it as well. It's a good way to, if you have guys libraries, go and explore something you don't have to spend a lot of money for, and explore and find out if you actually, this is, a lot of people talks about things, oh, this is really entertaining, you get really excited about it, but at the end of the day you have to invest in it, or if you're not sure about it, go library and get it if you can, of course, if those libraries produces those books. So I'm thoroughly in Sandman's world, and I think it gives me quite a few nightmares and good dreams. But I think I'm keep on meeting Sandman in my dreams, so I guess that's a bug.
The beauty of the cat story is that it's on the one side, it's such an out there story and has nothing to do with the rest, seemingly. Yeah. But on the other hand, it explains the concept of, as you said it, that everyone and every creature in the world sees the Sandman like one of theirs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I really like it. I think I didn't expect this to be, because I don't know how it was produced. I don't remember people reviewing and talking about it, but I really like that.
Like, I always have my book. Sorry, I really pondered. Should I? But this is beautiful, and I have one thing in mind, because these absolute Sandman books here, they have this recoloring going on.
Oh,
so,
no.
The page you've shown there.
Oh,
is in this version there.
I wonder if Omnibus had the same feel to what kind of print, that kind of coloring they used. Because Sandman has been produced in all sorts of formats. Like this volume particularly, my library had just a written, I forgot how you say that word, when it's only written words.
A novel? Prose?
Yeah, prose. There you go, prose. Sorry, I just blanked.
There we are with our funny books.
Yeah, the prose
is our enemy.
Yeah, he had the same cover. T-shirt. It's actually, it had kind of like it's kind of confusing because it has the same cover as it's so two production of the same cover. It looks exactly the same, but open one there's a prose, open another one is a comic book. I was like, that's really confusing to people. Some people, especially if you order it online, you don't know, and suddenly you receive a prose. Let's say if you want a comic, and people who wants a prose, they receive a comic, but like, oh, like in both sense. Anyway, I digress. But yeah, I wonder those printings. I really do enjoy when it's original and the way they're printing in that era. It just feels that era, like it's just you want that because it's originally being printed like that. So be kind of the same. But anyway, you can't have everything, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know why they get obsessed with recoloring.
Yeah, it's just it makes it, I don't know, extra job. You make yourself extra to do. Why? Maybe they don't have original or those plates or something. I don't know. How the reprinting world works for.
There's one part in the Sandman where the recoloring really made sense. In my opinion.
Okay.
In a later sequence drawn by Jill Thompson, it was originally just too thin color, and later on they just
enriched it.
Yeah, enriched it and did a bit more with it, and I felt this was a good way. Otherwise, I wasn't too bothered with the recoloring in the Sandman, but it's not really an improvement. I agree.
Mm-hmm. Those Absolute editions looks is that Absolute edition with a slipcover? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are so beautiful. They are
the stuff
like
here.
Yeah. Look at that. Oh, eye candy. Yeah, really cool.
It doesn't seem as painful recoloring as on Swamp.
Stay silent. Let's listen to that sound here.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
I don't know why I was putting my ear near my microphone.
It's like it's like
talking about fetish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You should do a whole video of just opening and closing.
Yes, some ASMR video.
Yes, exactly.
That would be the only ASMR I want to listen to.
Yeah, probably. That's fine. Anyway, so Sleepy, next is your turn.
Well, I was going to talk about one comic, but I'll save that for later because here's a comic book that needs badly to be recolored. Put my magic screen up again.
Oh, yeah.
It's Conan versus Rune from, I think, 1995. Yeah, 1995. Written and drawn by Barry Smith.
Oh
no.
And you can see his art style has moved. You can see the beginning of the art style that we see in Monsters, I think. But it's got this insane coloring. This is one of the better colored pages. So it's a very simple story where Conan meets this character Rune that Barry Smith created for the Ultraverse, Malibu's Ultraverse. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. It was a short-lived 90s comic book company that was then bought up by Marvel.
Oh, yeah.
And Barry Smith created this vampire character called Rune. And here Rune has fallen to the earth in Sumerian or Hyperborean times. Look at this coloring. It's so bad. And you look at a panel like this. Most of the drawing is disappeared in the coloring there.
Yeah.
So this is when they were first learning to do computer coloring. And this is the color. This is the stuff that needs to be recolored, not the pre-computer coloring era, I think.
Actually, maybe it's because I'm looking at the monitor and
You like it?
Somehow.
Well, we can agree to disagree. I thought the coloring utterly ruined this comic.
Okay.
Somehow I do like it.
I mean, they're not all ugly colors, but they seem to just obscure the art. Like, well, that panel, I don't know. To me, it seems like bad coloring. And Barry Smith is kind of flexing his muscles as a writer, and I thought he did a pretty good job. At it. And so this is, I think, the only time he returned to draw Conan after, whenever he left, 1972 or something. Oh, Architectural Foam Panels loves this coloring.
Oh, look. Comic Access looks okay in screen. It might look maybe worse.
Well, so I'm
Yeah.
totally wrong.
Maybe that's the reason.
I mean, like here, I just thought that was terrible.
Maybe that camera of yours is really magic. That's why we like
Maybe
it
a
so
digital
much.
version is better than.
Yeah, maybe it's sometimes it looks just a bit lighter on the screen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It just, to me, it just looks like mud. So it's interesting in 1998 because I feel like modern comics get really gory, but this is a really gory comic, which I guess to some people is a selling point. To me, it's fine because it fit the story, which is, again, kind of Lovecraftian. He's turned Rune into this nether god from the nether regions who appears in different forms in different universes and has come to the Hyperborean universe to basically be a god of total death and destruction and eating humanity. There's let's see. He finds this guy and talks to him, and only towards the end is it revealed the guy has no bottom to his body because Rune has eaten his legs. But you can't really see it because of the coloring, in my opinion. There's a picture of Rune apparently swallowing someone's head. But again, to me, because of the coloring, I'm not sure what's going on in that picture. So despite Rune being able to have eaten everybody in this city, when he meets Conan, they kind of have a wrestling match. Rune plays on Conan's pride and gets him to drop his sword and fight him hand to hand, but he still apparently beats Rune. These are beautifully drawn stuff, and it's raining the whole time.
I really don't mind it. I guess it's as I say,
everyone likes this but me, I guess. I just feel like it's calling out for some coloring that will let me enjoy the artwork.
I must say, seeing his black and white art in the monster, I do think the colors really do feel a little bit overly rich for his line work. Maybe that's the problem. And then it would kind of looking a little bit muddy in this, especially a couple of pages.
I mean, he's got beautiful line work. You could, if you look closely, you can see, wow, look at all those lines on the leg. But you have to look really closely because it's so obscured.
Well, it feels the same.
You know what? Probably at the time, they went from color like this in Stalker to a few years later able to do this, and they felt like, wow, now we're really painting on the page. And it felt revolutionary to them. And this may be better coloring than other 1995 coloring, but
maybe for me the problem there is some kind of problem because page after page it's a bit of the same gimmick. To put all the colors onto the panels. First, I've just saw 2 pages or 3, and it looks amazing. But it has to change a bit, and you have always these intense blues, and this could be a bit more variable in a way. Yeah, to saturate it.
Right. Yeah, maybe it's oversaturated, and maybe on the computer screen when they first did it, it didn't look so oversaturated. But I think they were just in love with being able to do colors like this after all that time with that very limited, very light color palette. So eventually Conan kind of at least knocks out in this brawl. So here a Rune is knocked out, but when Conan he starts to wake up, and Conan reaches for his magical gems and just gets this vision of billions of souls in torment that are inside the gems, and of different versions of Rune. Like here he's an insect, and there he's like a Norse god in all these different dimensions. And then Conan is either literally or just in his mind being attacked by millions of insects or thousands of insects, cutting at him, worming their way into every hole and crevice, weighing him down to suffocate and destroy him, to eat him alive from inside outward. with his limbs shaking as if to jar apart, the mighty barbarian can do aught but scream. So I thought that was cool horror. This is a horror comic, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And again, so this is a very intense drawing, and I guess in a way I can see this is cool coloring, except it works against the line art to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like this looks very cool, but somehow it doesn't, to me, it doesn't make the art read as well on the page. So somewhere between this and what a modern colorist, like the guy who was coloring Chris Samney, would do or something, to me would be a lot better. So anyway, it's just an amazingly sort of a Barry Smith, I think, is a genius, not just in his art, but in the concepts in his mind. And he's trying to put down here just a vision of, not exactly like Lovecraft, but a vision of something horrific in the way Lovecraft would try to do. It's not a traditional story in the sense of Conan saves the girl and defeats the wizard, right? Like that. And at the end, Rune is just gone, and his horse, the flaming head of his horse, is stuck on his sword, and he has to remove it. And he knows that the world's never going to be the same, that Rune has come to their planet and will be wreaking destruction everywhere. And that's the end of the story. This is a beautiful drawing here too.
Yeah,
it's full of beautiful art. But
what an interesting second page there. This ad for Clarasil. So for all the teenagers who want to be Conan but have different problems in their lives.
Yeah, and if you take the steroids you need to get like Conan, you will get a lot of zits, along with other problems. And this was just a one-off thing, and it even mentions that he's been busy working on the Freebooters, Young Gods, and Paradox Man, which became the Barry Smith Storyteller series that he never did. So he took a break from that to do this.
Interesting.
I wish maybe there is somewhere out here a reprint of it in a nice hardback or something. I'd like to see it even bigger. It's kind of lost to history because Marvel bought up the company that owned Rune and then just basically shelved it. They just got rid of it. It was during the time when Marvel was bought up by one of those Wall Street financiers. Yeah. And when Marvel was doing badly, to solve the way of thinking is they just had Marvel buy a lot of other companies, thinking that would somehow shore up Marvel and do better. But so Rune and all the other characters from the Ultraverse are now lost to history. Maybe someday Marvel will sell them to someone who wants to do them or something. Probably not. So why this feels successful to me, Architectural Foam Panel says, is that the delineation between the line art and coloring is productively confused. The image all feels of a piece rather than stages of a production process. So yeah, maybe they were, and maybe this is exactly what Barry Smith wanted. I feel it needs to be recolored, but
that was exactly what I felt too, because the artwork are the lines and the color, and that was maybe some kind of what they tried in Europe. Sometimes it was successful, sometimes not, but with the direct color stuff.
Trying to give you a close look.
It can be sometimes
it does look
messy.
Nicer on my screen than on the page.
And I wonder if this will look even a bit or much better if it would be published bigger in a bigger size.
Yeah. But I bet these
maybe
day and age
desaturated a little bit or something.
Yeah, but I bet this day and age digital colorists would do marvels with that work, to be honest, because now the improvement in digital artwork is immense. Like sometimes you can't even recognize if it's actual watercolor, or the way they improved the digital coloring is amazing. Yeah. It's actually quite scary in a way, but yeah.
I assume there's no digital version of this available either. But I think that would be the way to read it, because when I held it up to the screen there, I'm looking at the same panel now, and it's just, it doesn't work as well as it did on the screen.
I see.
To me, anyway. Like here, maybe digitally you can see, it was really hard for me to make out what was in this image here. It's a throne made of skin and skulls.
Okay. Oh yeah, it does.
But it took me, especially on the physical page, it took me quite a long while to just parse out that image. Anyway, I feel sad that that Barry Smith, like, he didn't get to finish his Storyteller series, and whatever happened sort of gave him creative block for a long period of time. That, because this just shows a very interesting approach to things that I think was different from everybody else's in mainstream comics.
Okay, Mr. O'Cray.
My favorite comic book that I snatched with, I guess this is really from this year. Maybe this was from last year as well. Yeah, this seems to be from last year. Anyhow, Hillbilly, the Lizard of Rusty Creek Cave. By far my favorite of the bunch that I got, from Eric Powell, or by Eric Powell. And it's actually a fairy tale of these folks that lived somewhere out there, and they're very eager to sacrifice their young ones to go on with their lives, and they put them on this, bound her here as food for some kind of lizard. And it takes the courage of another girl of this town to finally, I don't think that this is really spoiling, to save her in the end of the day. And I have really a question, because Eric Powell does this a lot with this simple grammar or wrong grammar. They is the ones, since this is some kind of English lesson here, everything for me, they is the ones that is stupid. It's like they don't. Is there some place in America where people are really speaking like this? They is supposed to, but they don't, and so on. Changing is and are.
There are some, I don't know if it's a southern thing or just certain small regions, but I do know some people who use singular versions of verbs when they should be losing a plural one, is instead of are and stuff. That phrase, though, sounded particularly odd to me.
Yeah, and it should, I guess this is the intention, but they look for this guy here, and he helps the girl to the real hero of the story, that is our hillbilly guy, and he lives in this hut there, over there in the mountains, aside of the skull here. And I don't want to tell the whole story. It's a very nice fairy tale in the end, with really a surprising moral. We come to know the lizard here, which is one of the fine creations of Eric Powell, and you may don't see it on the monitor, but all these panels are drawn with pencil, and you really see the pencil drawing, just with a bit watercolor. I maybe didn't want to see all this grayish, greenish tones there every time, but the possibilities to reproduce nowadays the pencils, there's actually no need for inking all the time.
Right.
I feel it's pretty amazing, I think, and the story is really, the story is really great. I mean, this is really a story that you can tell with pictures or as a prose novel, and you have some kind of message in the end. which and surprising message. And it really makes me aching for more of this hillbilly stuff, but I'm spoiled beyond belief because of these Eric Powell library editions of Dark Horse. So I really wait until they come up with something similar for this hillbilly stuff. For the moment, all the Goon and hillbilly publications are done by Eric Powell's own publishing company, Albatross Comics. And so he does a lot of these paperbacks and stuff, which is a good thing, I guess. But hey, these Goon library editions, they are just wonderful.
Because
and out of print.
Yeah.
I just found the hardback Goon Library Edition Volume 2, but I can't find any other.
Yeah, but anyhow, I would grab
money I want to pay.
Yeah. It's because he's not going to do any more for Dark Horse. He's doing his he takes, I think, even everything away from his stuff to his own publishing, so maybe you can somehow convince
paperback compendiums.
Yeah, which is so sad because those library editions, which I own happily, I'm very happy to own them because they are beautiful to look at and really well done as always, which is sometimes you feel. But hillbilly stories are really great, and I think he's using ink wash because then sometimes when ink wash dries, he gives the different hues because of how much water you use. I guess because that really looks like, because I remember I tried it to do ink wash, and ink wash can stain quite quickly, which is crazy. In a way, it's kind of difficult to maneuver as well, because when it dries solid, and you can't, like watercolor, you can even touch up watercolors, but the ink dries, it dries. So it's very difficult to clean that up. But he is really good at what he's doing with that kind of palette, like almost the same like Mike McNulty does it with inks. He just does it exactly the same thing with that kind of style.
the world of him of Eric Powell seems very similar to Mike Mignola's, despite the art style is pretty different. But and
a stronger sense of humor, I suppose.
And the character of that main guy there, he almost could say crap, like Hellboy used to say. The same dry humor.
And he loves his folklores as well, so he gets in there inspiration from that stuff. So it's kind of like like two people who are actually very famous to what they have done with their own creations, but still having kind of same taste to them. So I guess it's my turn now. Yes, it is. I am going to talk Heavy Metal Elements, the Black Beacon, and this is from it's produced by Heavy Metal. But so this is a creative team. So Ryan K. Lindsay, Sebastian Priest, letterer is James, and editor is R.C. Lorena. Anyway, so this is apparently first of all, first I tried it because it cost $2.99, and the comic books $2.99. It not really comes up anymore, especially in new issues. But this is $2.99, I think, because it's reprints. So this is how originally was printed in Heavy Metal magazines, whatever they are continuously printing out. But now it's made in the format of comic book. They also have quite a slew of stories, and they have almost kind of similar tinge to them. So they kind of like look they're gold thingy element to this, and then we're following this character Nico. I think it's her name, Nico. This character here, and she's an artist who very experimental, but she's dwells into this world space because there's this message being sent through from this black beacon, and the black beacon is a place where each species of universe can come in there and find kind of like a solace, I guess, or just discover each other, and you can have like good conversation, like like kind of thing. So where all people from all worlds, like space creatures, can meet up. But there's a catch. of course, and you first of all follow this character. He's a cop, and give me a second, I forgot the name. And this comic book actually gives you the name Barbie, so his name is Barbie. This comic book gives you actually the backstory of these characters in this comic book. So I didn't look at the back matter, of course. I just started reading from the beginning. And then anyway, so this is the copper who is basically doing the job, cop jobs in no matter where you are at. And basically he finds the ship which is crashing into Black Beacon. And he finds out that the person who comes out of that is Nico. So Nico comes out, and then he's like, "What are you doing here? How dare you?" And apparently, in order to you to be present in the Black Beacon, you're supposed to have a plate. The plate is something which is kind of your ID, I presume. But of course, she's not aware that Black Beacon has a problem because there's not enough space anymore. And in order for you to stay in this Black Beacon, you're supposed to get a plate. And in order to get a plate, you have to kill somebody. Or, in that kind of circumstances, to get hold of something. So it becomes like any new arrival who arrives to Black Beacon is not welcome anymore, because whoever is in there already, they don't want you, to come and kill them and take their place. So that was interesting part. And then she didn't know that, apparently, because it took way too long the message to arrive to Earth. Like it seems to everything in main stories. So she arrives and like, "What do you mean? You send a message for people to come and explore this wonderful place called Black Beacon, where everybody's species can meet up." And then this is the panel which I made main picture, which I absolutely love. It has so many multiple colors.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and I
was did you use that for the
the
thumbnail?
Yeah, and this was interesting part of the how they decided to design this comic book with this thing in here. So anyway, he's basically trying to find out what she's all about. They don't believe her, like I just came here to explore, and then her mission is basically to explore, because she's very inquisitive, and then send the message back to Earth and see what is this all about. Of course, like she wasn't aware that the situation is not going to be very good. So interesting creatures, elements of storytelling, reading wise was all good, and nothing to I really liked visuals. I like the color palette. Yeah. Maybe it's a little bit too blendy in some ways because of the colors of pinks and stuff. But honestly, it's kind of immersive world already, and with elements of surprise, like I said. But yeah, definitely will be interesting to see, because how she's going to survive this, and what's really end goal for her, because they don't really tend to tell you everything, of course, in the first issue. And I guess if you have read Heavy Metal magazine, you probably know the story. But in here, the creators are really thankful for you to picking up this, and they tell you a little bit about what they're gonna do, or what kind of what their goal is. The final steps of any journey is telling of a tale. So hopefully it will be entertaining, but the price tag, I just couldn't say no to it, to try it out, and I definitely kind of thoroughly.
What was the price tag again?
$2.99.
Oh, $2.99. Nice.
Yeah. Huh. So
I don't think I saw that one in my shop.
Yeah, it's I've seen somewhere advertised, and I was like, I didn't think my comic book I would have, but he seems to be having it, everything. So whenever I feel like maybe I should try and ask, and then he does have it. So yeah, so it's because I went to look. It doesn't tell you if it's reprinted, but I looked up on the Heavy Metal website, and they were saying in there that this is kind of like not reprints, but they were telling stories of the same thing in the magazine format, I guess. So if you don't want to pay that, how much is Heavy Metal these days?
It's like $15 or $16 an issue.
Oh.
So yeah, investing that or investing in this. So it's actually quite a clever way for them to put the creators into, like somebody wants to invest the time in this.
Right.
And apparently the artist who is came to the writer to ask for to write the story for him because he had an idea. So, which is so he's highly invested in it.
That's often good when the artist is part of the germination of the idea.
Yeah, and then
And does it say how many issues they plan to do?
It didn't actually. It just says that they're gonna do ongoing stories. So maybe they plans for or like it's the way they're saying is like they want to do it like I guess further. I don't know, but it didn't really specify. So they just was really happy that whoever invested time in this. So I really kind of I always want to find something, especially if all those new stuff would be that price tag. I guess it would be me who is really reading that because it's easier to invest that and then not feel guilty like Aftershock, £5, $5 you invest in it and you don't like it. That's kind of gives you a little bit should I even try next time? So it's a big difference because when you buy 5 of those or if you buy £5, 5 of those, so big price difference for that. So
when you buy new comics, do they translate the dollar price just literally into pounds? So if it's a $5 comic, it's a £5 comic?
No, my comic book I give me discount first.
They use the actual exchange rate or something.
Yeah, but exchange rate is quite bad to be honest because of the shipping cost and stuff like that. So for example, if it's $3.99 book, I pay £3.10. So I pay.
Over here, it's pretty usual to translate it in euros. So when it's $3.99, it's €3.99. And since the euro is a bit more worth than the dollar, it's not so good, and we don't get any discount at all. But I kind of understand it because they have quite an hassle to get all the stuff overseas and so on.
My understanding of Diamond shipments to England, but now not everything's done by Diamond, is that they ship them in some giant shipping way that they get a cheaper shipping cost.
Nice.
But they make up for their shipping costs by not giving as good a discount to British comic book stores as an American comic book store would get. So while my store is getting at 50% of cover price, your store might be getting it at 40% of cover price. I mean, I don't really know the figures, but that's the general impression I have. So it would be harder for them to give as steep a discount. And then I don't know how they get to the continental Europe, if they come through England or if they have another direct to Europe.
In UK, of course, the cheapest so far, I think, well, as far as I know, is Forbidden Planet, but I never want to go to the mass-produced comic book shop, which they buy in bulks and they really, especially if you subscribe to them, the comic book really gets cheap. Every kind of comic book is really cheap. But for me, because I'm going for the guy who is doing his business for 25 years alone, he translates as far as he can. He says, he always says to me, you can go somewhere cheaper if you want. But it's no, it's fine as long as because you have two-way kind of thing. I don't mind it really because I understand what he needs to do in order to actually keep the business alive. So I'm fine. I mean, I can support one guy because I tend not to go Forbidden Planet anyway because it's just like another comic supermarket. Forbidden Planet is basically what it is.
Right.
It's because they buy in such a vast amount of comic books and then they prices it's just nothing.
Exactly. I could go to discount comic book service online instead of using my shop, but then my shop would go out of business. So don't want that to happen.
And then Francis already says the shops are few and far between the UK. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. There's a couple. There's one in Leeds, really good one. And there's
when you took me to lots of shops in London, it gave me a warped view of how many comic shops there are.
Yeah, London is because of the sheer size of the
city.
Yeah, exactly. The city is vast. So from going from one side to another side, it actually takes quite a few times. But if you go in city center, you could be. Well, hopefully they survived all this COVID nonsense and stuff like that.
Right.
But there's a couple of them which we went into. Those are the more famous ones, which I have the stock of a lot of stuff. What you can imagine comics can produce. So, but in the surrounding areas, there's kind of like almost scattered. So if you live in London, you have vast choice of comic book shops. The minute you leave the London, it's like maybe one there survived, maybe the other one there survived,
Right.
like, but they're like miles away from each other. So yeah.
Well, and you also have the value added tax, right? So that is wrapped up in or does that not apply to American books?
No, I don't know. No.
Because when you see an American
Yeah.
or United Statesian
Mm-hmm.
buy a comic for $5, depending on what state they live in, they may also be paying 5% on top of that, or 9%,
really?
I think, in New York City.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So like in New York State, there's a state sales tax, and then there's a New York City sales tax. And so people in New York City who say, oh, I bought this $3 comic, also paid. They're not mentioning all the sales tax they paid on it. And I live in a state that one of the few states that does not have a sales tax, because we have a state income tax instead. Which is less regressive, but painful when it comes to tax time.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry I got into that, but that's another thing
Yeah,
to think
fun.
when you listen
That's
to people in the U.S. talk about what they paid. They're not mentioning the sales tax, which you don't deal with, at least in the U.K., because the tax is already accounted for.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't. Yeah, the tax is already in the price apparently. Yeah. Everything is paid in.
I guess now. Scott is implying that in the state of Connecticut they have even worse taxes. They may have sales tax and income tax there. No. Anyway, so it's a lot harder to be a comic shop, I think, in the UK and Europe in terms of your profit margin.
Yeah.
Okay, so is it my turn?
Yes, it is. Are you doing magic camera or?
Yeah, I'm going to do the magic camera in a second. So this is the latest from Eric Powell, called Lester of the Lesser Gods. And it says one shot on it. So, but I'm not sure. So Eric Powell, it's published by Albatross, and Eric Powell is a co-writer on it. But it was hilarious. And I guess this is an all sword and sorcery episode for me. But so it's about this guy who...
but it's not drawn by him.
It's not drawn by him. But the art's quite good by someone named Gideon Kendall, who I've never heard of. It has a bit of a maybe Mad Magazine vibe to it or something.
Yeah.
So this is Lester's mom was the bar, the alcoholic bar slut.
Oh my God.
And she'll basically have sex with anyone who will buy her drinks. And in comes Odin. And buys her some drinks and had sex with her in the out of order bathroom. And this comic does not pull any punches. And then Odin leaves and she lives in her it's not even a trailer home, I'm not sure what it is, like a shack up on blocks. And her son Lester grows up to be a video game and D&D loving type of nerd who somehow has great confidence in himself and dresses like that. And so there he is at the playground.
Wow.
And it's just every panel has funny dialogue and stuff. I mean, it is all in bad taste and everything. There's Lester riding around on his scooter, and he works at Hootie Hoo Pizza Parlor, where the only reason he keeps his job is because this guy who runs the pizza parlor sleeps with his mother. So it's just really kind of it's giving you all the worst cliches of redneck America, I suppose, combined with this stuff. And then the Cthulhu-esque apocalypse happens, and Lester is happy. He goes back to his house and finds his weapons, and he puts on his outfit and he goes out to battle. And he has a fun time. there's some event. Look, some of these demons have other demons as their nose. I don't know if you can see.
Oh yeah.
And coming up is a demon that is just perfect for comic crack in his bonheur. Although I guess it's a little. Oh, there Odin shows up and says, gives him his Odin spear.
Oh.
Oh, and let's see. Where's the demon I wanted to make sure you get in trouble with YouTube. There's the demon for comic crack.
Oh, look at that!
No, I didn't even notice that the first time I was reading too quickly. It's like that's just
okay. Don't point fingers.
So yeah, there's that demon. It was gonna eat the woman, but anyway.
Oh, look at that!
And then he makes friends with this Catwoman and says, evil shall be our everlasting bitch. And it says to be continued.
Even though it's a one shot.
Why won't it focus? Oh, there, now it's focused. Yeah. But it said it's a one shot, so to be continued. I don't know if that's a joke or if we're going to see more of Lester. Mm-hmm. I think he does a great job with these one shots, or his whole crew. It was just funny. You probably wouldn't want to read an ongoing series, but maybe another issue or two. So hopefully it will appear in some trade for the trade waiter Eric Powell fans, because it's just a fun little romp. And I had no complaints with the coloring. It's regular modern coloring, I suppose. But yeah, I love this slightly bad taste sense of humor with its redneck undertones or overtones or what have you.
Yeah.
And obviously that's a big part of Eric Powell's whole shtick, right? His sense of humor about things.
I guess starring Jack Black in the live action version would be great.
Yes, you know what? I thought that too. I forgot. This is exactly like a Jack Black character. It's a lot like his character in that heavy metal band he's in. I've had a brain fart, suddenly can't remember that. But if you see this lying around, I would recommend picking it up, unless you're offended by all of that stuff.
Yeah, Bona. Mr. Oh, look at this! Gonna show some.
Speaking of offensive, right?
No. There's actually no page that I could show you in this book here, and I really don't.
That comic was on the shelf. Sorry to interrupt you. On the shelf at my comic store, at about the height of my stomach, and I picked it up and just opened the first page, and I think it was a picture of someone getting anal sex or something else, in very graphically, right there. For any kid to come pick up at the shop, I don't think the owner of my shop ever looked inside, have any idea what he was putting out.
Okay, show us then. Go on.
No. There's really actually no page that I could show you.
Go on, show us. Don't worry.
No.
No, I want to see. Come on. You can't just say it. Show it and don't show it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I see.
Just one page. Let's do one page. Okay.
Pretty harmless one. About these creatures and.
But it's got a baseball bat.
Yeah. Exactly.
Obviously.
Yeah. Cowards.
Only Earl's the coward.
I'm
also
but actually I all over the place. I haven't read it really, because it's so disrupted in the storytelling, and it totally don't make any sense at all. It's just really for the provocation of it, and it's totally a gimmick. And if it wasn't Gilbert Hernandez, the one that gave me so much pleasure with other stories, I like ridiculous, over the top, even pornographic stories a lot. I don't have problems with it, but Blubber 6, I don't know if I really can recommend it. And this goes for this one here as well.
That one.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised that I got this I mean, they make some kind of story out of it. Their books are so hard to get, and usually, if books are really hard to get, I don't get them over here. But this book was available. Maybe we'll change the lighting a bit. You can see this one here is really, really beautiful. The whole book, how it is made with the back cover. And The Varnish by Jared Osborne, as we all know.
The king of the varnished cover.
Yeah, king of the varnish. And it's written by Matt Kindt, and the first part is drawn, 2 stories, both written by Matt Kindt, which isn't a bad thing, in my opinion. And the first drawn by Adam Polina, and the second by Tony Millionaire. And it really, art-wise, it really looks fantastic, in my opinion. That's no spoiler at all, even though you need some time actually to really figure out where you are. But we are inside a whale, and you have these crabs and this fish inside this water bag, like you can buy some goldfish or so in a bag full of water. And somehow this poor guy on this roller skate shoe, whatever. Well, there, you see it. They are inside this whale, and then they have built their own little universe there with this little city hanging down from the guts of the whale. And there's it's 10 euros or $10, but actually it's I don't like this square bound books when I buy a comic book, but it's really thick, and I haven't counted the pages, but you're pretty good off with your almost $10 just in terms of production qualities and the paper and everything, and no ads at all. I mean, it's well worth it, I feel. And the story that they have to come to know that there's a world outside the whale, and this little boy helps them with figuring that out. So it's a bit like the Eric Powell story. It has some kind of fairy tale-ish, all ages for sure quality to it. But somehow the story is really easily foreseeable, and didn't surprise me in the end. And even though art-wise it's really fascinating, just this Hokusai wave here, and the problem with the story and the conflict is that the boy that came into the whale, like Jonah a bit, is the son of a whale hunter. So there's some kind of conflict arises when the son comes out of the whale, and so on and so on. And but if you don't like the art, you can forget the whole thing here, because the art is really the selling factor. And if you like a nice, fairy tale-ish story. Actually, when I'm looking at it, I really do like the art very, very, very much. The second story drawn by Tony Millionaire is about some minerals, like it's called Rocks and Minerals, and it's a world full of sentient, intelligent minerals and stones that try to figure out how the world was before, when the stones weren't intelligent. Maybe a bit the same gimmick like the story in Sandman with the cats. even though the cat story just makes much more sense, like the Tony Millionaire story here. Nice cartooning, nice stuff, but eventually it's a big chase scene in which these policeman stones chase the good stones. Okay, the blue stone is a police stone. It makes suddenly some kind of sense. But yeah, I mean, the cartooning I really like. The story is just a chase scene with some ending of sorts. So the whole thing seems to be a one shot, and this makes totally sense because the story is not worth more than the glimpse into these two universes. Very child bookish like. I mean, in contrast to the Valentine old European comic, I would say if my kids would be, let's say, 7 and 8 year old now, I would totally pick this up for just reading the stuff with them and looking at the speaking stones and stuff. And that's pretty great. But as an adult comic reader, I got a bit too little out of these books, especially for 10 euros.
That's a lot of money for. But then
Yeah.
you get quite more content. I do understand that, but still, kind of like just to get into it and just commit to that. Yeah.
I guess it's Matt Kint trying something a little different. I suppose that's the.
Yeah, maybe, or maybe just some ideas he had loosely on some kind of scrap paper, and I don't know if all the stuff by Bad Idea are these second-hand thoughts that, yeah.
Well, a lot of the
I
other
don't want
ones
to be
are
too dramatic
closer to
about it.
adventure comics, like ENIAC basically was about 2 women mercenaries, and that one Tankers is supposed to be like a gonzo thing about sort of mercenaries also for an oil company with dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs don't hurt.
I thought I read Tankers, and not because I finally found a shop that had Bad Idea, and I bought up all these Tankers without realizing they were like $7 an issue. And it was a light romp, but there wasn't much to it in the end. Sorry, it's not my turn.
It's fine. So it's definitely my favorite free comic book day comic book is this, like what
Okay.
I'm trying to find that.
Comic Rack
Damn,
was saying last. Yeah, this is honestly, it's you. This art just grows on you from each page you turn, and I know it's very simplistic. You could call it stick art, to be honest, because of but the way the character itself and what the creator Elizabeth Pick, I think Pick is doing with this characters is so amusing, and all those. I finally got my flying boobs, even though it's not that flying boob you guys all going crazy about. But I still got the flying boobs. And then it's just the way she gets into this situation. So she's dreaming this flying, naked in the volcano, and she starts coughing, and then she realizes she just wakes up and she's actually coughing because there's fire in the kitchen. She goes in the kitchen, the fireman is like, what? And then she's like, the first thing she said, "Oh man, sorry, I was masturbating." And then her roommate says, "Jesus, well, I'm going back to bed. Some of us have to work in the morning." And then she's like, she should masturbate more. It's just, and then she goes with the skateboards, and then she's like, oh, she sews the skis. It's just, honestly, it's funny, and it's like they have sex, and then suddenly there's like, she opens the door with the skateboards, and she's like bleeding all over the place, and then she's like, and her roommate, "I hope you're like having a medical emergency. Who's that guy under you?" "It's Peter." "My boyfriend." "Oh, I have introduced you like 5 times. Well, who can keep track with all the fluctuations in the bedroom? What? That's not true. She's joking. It's fine. Whatever. I'm hungry. And then she just fucks off. It's like, like that. Imagine having that kind of roommate. I mean, that would be bonkers. And then the best scene, it's all funny. I mean, like she goes find a job in the funeral home. But the funniest thing, with those roommates, the roommates having a breakfast. So they're having a breakfast, like, oh, they're having a conversation. And then she's like, her roommate comes in and she has that, oh, where is that picture? Oh, go, finger go there. She's naked and she just wears, she just wears, oh my God, can't do this today. What's going on? Anyway, I'm tired, I guess, already. But anyway, so she goes crazy and then she's like scratches her ass in front of him and then they just like shrugs away and then like, I don't know why they're dealing with her. And she's like, and then she pokes his pancake. It's just, oh my God, it's so funny. Anyway, this is the best free comic book day for adults for sure. It's just bonkers bad, and honestly, I wasn't surprised, but I'm actually definitely gonna. There's over 250 pages of this girl coming out in October 2021. So I don't know. I'm probably gonna get it because it's the way she deals with everything, like, and the way the art is almost out of proportionally bonkers. So yeah, it's. Thank you for Comic Crack for this. For this, I could not believe when my comic guy had it. I was like, yes, at least this I'm gonna get. I was just caring for this, and even managed my husband to read it, which is feat in its own, because my husband couldn't care less, and he read it through all of it. It's like, so that's another thing. So yeah, honestly, if you can get hold of it somehow, you just need to actually, yeah, you just need to flip the pages. It's just really hilarious. It's actually having in your hands and reading that. It's fun and very entertaining. So
I wish it was going to come out as a serial comic rather than just a trade, but I know that kind of stuff does not sell in the comic shops anymore. But this sounds like it'd be fun to have a little bit of that every month or something.
Yeah, I think so. I would be the one who getting in, because, and there's the situation I didn't show you about Llama, and that's just funny, like the way the friend, the roommate and her boyfriend, Jesus and her together, like like 3 people don't go together. That's for sure. That's a primal example why you shouldn't have that kind of friend or roommate to be next to your boyfriend and stuff like that. It's just, as I say, it's so simple, but it's honestly so well done. I don't know. I just it really gave me, like, I just couldn't stop smiling. And I was like, I said to my husband, we have to read it. I shoved it in his face. It's like, read now. I don't have a choice. Just read it now. And he read it, and he's like, I thoroughly enjoyed it. So yeah, it's just one of the adult humors made really, really well. So yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, we're all feeling FOMO now.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's definitely. As I say, I was very pleased when the comic book. I was telling, I got my package. Like, I opened up, and it's the first thing I was looking for, this book, because I was so curious to see what it's all about. So, yeah.
Looks like Andrew Lopez managed to get a copy without knowing what it was.
No.
So that's nice.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
I read now number 10, but we're not going to talk about it again.
A surprise.
I think we've been talking about it for at least 5 episodes.
Maybe even more, to be honest.
But I also read digitally, so I'm going to do my screen share again. I read digitally because I found on Hoopla they had issue number 2 and number 4, just randomly, those 2 issues. And I'm not going to reread it later. So if you can put up my screen share there. There we go. And I maybe reading it digitally is the way to go for me, or maybe it's just this issue, but I had a lot of fun reading this issue, and I've had complaints about now at other times. So I've written down some pages to look at. Let's see. Hopefully it lines up. So I liked this one called Pray for Piano Land.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure it's emulating like a homage to someone else's style from a long time ago, but I'm not like some either old animation style or some old newspaper comic strip style. I'm not sure. But I really love the art, and it had a wacky sense of humor. Like here, this woman is, I guess, going to make her living by bottling her own bathwater and selling it at the craft fair or the farmer's market or something.
Mm-hmm.
I slap a label on them and sell them at the farmer's market.
Yep.
It also captured kind of the fun of some underground comics, I felt like. Just that kind of crazy sense of humor. Sorry, go ahead.
It's the same artist from Bicycle Day, Brian Blommuth.
I don't think I know Bicycle Day.
The invention of LSD. He did, and if you look at this here, it's pretty LSD-ish in lots of ways as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it has that vibe of late '60s underground comic book art combined with, because they were often influenced by animation art themselves, those people.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was just a fun romp. And visually constantly interesting. The shrimps did not. There was these shrimp characters, but they didn't look like shrimps to me. But other than that, that's no problem. And it was just funny to read. So I really like that one. Well, that's weird. It shows anyway. And this one was okay, but now I'm gonna find the next one that I particularly liked. Let's see, how do I do that? Here we go. Page list, page 46. See, I had to prepare. I had to write all this stuff. Oops. This one was called The Absolute Truth. And in a way, it's kind of an obvious, almost sophomoric story, but I still kind of enjoyed it. There's this character, and he's inside this comic book artist's comic book, and he comes out to meet his maker.
Yeah.
Who he thinks is God. There's the comic book artist there with the long nose. And he's like, I'm sorry, there's been a misunderstanding. I'm not who you think I am. And so then the two of them go off to meet. Sorry?
No, I just
answered. Yes, this is now number 4. The two of them go off to meet the comic book artist God, who looks a bit like our cliched Judeo-Christian God on his throne with wings. But he says, I just kind of got the universe started, but you can't really blame me for what happened after that. And anyway, I was created by another God. So they go off to the higher dimension where there's a convention of gods, each one the maker of a universe. And so there they are all arriving. This God with the floating stone head is the God of our God. And then they have a giant conference where they sit down and discuss the absolute truth. And it takes the millennium of every God getting their chance to give their opinion. There's a panel where they're hanging out at the bar at the conference between lectures. And finally, after several millennium, they decide there is no primordial God. Each of us is the creation of the preceding God and the creator in turn of the following one. And that is the absolute truth. And now we can go back to our universes and teach that to our followers. And that's the end. So, but I kind of got a kick out of it. And I like the art style and the limited palette of coloring.
I really like that as well.
And then there's one on page 76 that I liked. This one, whoops. I didn't hit the right page. Whoops, there. It's called, you can barely read it there. It's called The Maimed Gaze.
Oh.
And it has this really cool art style and cool coloring. I think the coloring is probably what won me over. And this person suffers from looking at inanimate objects and noticing the image of a face in the inanimate object. which I feel like I've done. You look at some cracks on the wall and suddenly see.
Yeah, I do that all the time. Oosh.
And it's become such a habit for him or her. It's not clear and not important what the sex is, I guess. That eventually the human faces start sort of falling apart because he sees faces everywhere else. I just thought it was cool and fun, and I liked that it both was an interesting visual thing to play with, and it related to real experience, like we've all sort of experienced something like that, or most of us have. So yeah, I thought that was kind of a cool and to me fairly unique story. There's what happens to their face after they can't see faces in human faces anymore. Okay, and then I liked one called The Cave, which was on, if my notes are right, page 97. Yeah. And this one has a really nice illustrative style. I had to read it twice, though, because it was silent. Ironically, a silent comic doesn't, like I was saying before with Breccia, doesn't stick in my head as well as a regular comic. So it's like I looked at all the pictures and somehow didn't register the story. And then I went back. So it's just, I don't know, it's this woman having regular life, but she has in her basement a cave with a lake. She goes for a swim in it.
Of course she does.
And then she must have been sleepwalking, or her eyes seem open, but she goes back upstairs, goes back to bed, and then looks and is shocked that her bed is all wet.
Oh yeah, so definitely sleepwalking.
I don't know. I just kind of liked it. It was both a slice of life, but then with some weirdness in it, and a very appealing to me art style.
Yeah, very good. I liked it. I want the more story of that now. I want to know what that lake is all about.
Right. Well, maybe I don't know. I didn't write down the name of the artist, and those names are on different pages, so it's hard to flip to it digitally.
The bottom corner says M. Leckman.
Yes,
Lehmann.
She's done
Matthias
other work.
Lehmann.
M. Lehmann.
Lehmann. Okay.
Lehmann.
Maybe even a German. Matthias Lehmann sounds very German.
Oh, Lehmann is my wife's maiden name too, so there's plenty of once upon a time Germans elsewhere. Let's see, and then page 127. I really liked one. It's a short one called Cupid. And this one is one where the artist is sort of cheating, just doing the same images over and over again.
Yeah,
and it's someone getting their comic book critiqued by a friend who says it's basically crap and no one will care about it. And I'm sorry you wasted all your time making it. So it was good that it was only like 2 pages long. And they even mentioned it's a 24-page, 3-color Rizzo zine.
Oh, so printed in Rizzo.
It's called Space Wolves. But yeah, so it gets a really harsh, and at the end, the creator of it says, even the part with the space cubs, especially the space cubs. And I feel like I would have, if I did a Rizzo zine, it would have been about something in space too. So that was cool. And then there was this final thing, and I think this same artist might be in issue 10 also, because I remember the word balloons going into people's mouths. And I liked this a lot as a one-shot, one-page little story about it's just totally bizarre, about someone whose dog likes to lick their eyeballs, and they let them do it every day for an hour. and they invited a friend over, and they're admitting they let the dog lick their eyeballs. So of course the friend has that expression on her face. So I thought there was a lot, because I've struggled with Now magazine, but this one was a really strong one for me. And I don't know if reading it, on my iPad helped or not, or that was chance perhaps. Have you read this number 4 one? Earl.
Yeah.
And do you remember liking that issue or not?
I think I would have picked the same stories like you did.
Yeah,
So
those were my favorites.
yeah. Flipping through it, maybe this no.
It was on your magic bookshelf also.
I just picked it. There's some pretty amazing pages, but I can't remember honestly the
Yeah,
story,
I liked the
the
art in that
story
one, but
behind
I
it.
didn't like or didn't get enough
Yeah.
out of the story.
Yeah. It's I don't expect to be blown away by these stories when someone has just 5 or 6 pages to go. I'm fully okay if I get just some kind of interesting glimpse into the stuff here, and especially my favorite of the bunch here is the first one by Brian Blomworth with the nun who sells her bathing water. And this is really
well. That's kind of the tour de force of the issue, I think.
Yeah,
that was
the one with the pianos,
especially this blasphemous picture here over there, where the two creatures in the praying out of the tin cans.
Right.
However, I
didn't think of it being blasphemous, but I suppose so.
Yeah. However, it's nice, playful, and fun, and colorful.
So all great. Do you still have something else to speak?
One last one, but no comic book, but some German, old German comic star in a way here, the Matthias Schultheiss. I sort of avoided him back in the day because I don't know, his comics were not of my main interest 30 years ago or so. But now some other YouTuber showed exactly this book that came out in 1990 or so. Yeah, 1990. And it's around, like a lot of these books, they were printed in much too high editions, print runs, because of the economics behind it, and so it's still up for grabs. Like by the way, the same series of books, like this Alberto Breccia book. It's also published by Carlsen Lux. This is not of a much interest for you, but they say Matthias Schultheiss was big in the US. And if some German artist is only just mentioned by some American newspaper, he's already big in the US, and it's a big selling point over here. But I won't think that you ever have heard of Matthias Schultheiss. I guess no. But he did really some good comics, seemingly. Especially this book here really won me over. I mean, you see the crude drawing style, and maybe that was something that kept me back in the day from getting this book here. But again, it's a bit of this coloring that Damien so disliked on the other book earlier on, but here it's just done with markers, and you can really see this. It's obviously before any computer was able to do this kind of stuff. He did this with markers and whatever he had handy, and to some very interesting effects. And it's a crime story, this in particular, but maybe if you Google Matthias Schultheiss, there are some books by him available in English. This is a crime story of a cab driver, and we see her sort of naked there, and woo, and bonus.
Thanks you.
But what I liked even more is that the story here plays, and it's called Night Taxi. It plays in Hamburg at night, and if you know Hamburg, you will recognize a lot of these night scenes. Some of them are a bit drawn, strange, or the line work is not so precise. Some maybe would critique that. I don't bother with that. It's the story is this female cab driver here. She meets this guy there. He's an evil villain who kills people like so, and she has some bad encounters with him and other of her clients who drive the cab with her cab. Yeah. And on top of this crime story, and that she is afraid for her life, there is some kind of mythical voodoo stuff happening, like you see here.
Wow, look. I like
And
that.
and there's really something to this voodoo happening in Hamburg. I mean, a city where when it's raining constantly, and it has its charm, but voodoo don't come to your mind when you think of Hamburg usually. And this was really a pleasant surprise. I mean,
I really like those blues he's using.
And if you really look, if you have this book here in person and in this European album set, you can really cherish and enjoy what he did there. It's and that's for me the bonus in comparison to computer coloring. You really have the feeling that you can relive the hand of the one who drew all that stuff. And it's a bit different when you think, okay, there he had clicked, and then some Photoshop effect helped him along. So on the bottom line, I will search and check out for more of Matthias Schulthei's stuff in the future.
That looks very cool.
Scott Connor would like some voodoo hamburgers.
Voodoo hamburgers, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds very good, tasty.
Well, I can see why you compared that coloring to the Barry Smith stuff, but it looked like it was more judiciously applied to me from what I could see on the screen.
Yeah.
Well, there are lots of people liking it, so yeah, it's very cool.
Maybe now he will be big in the US, thanks to you.
Maybe.
Yeah, you just need to...
The floating chat effect.
Yeah, hopefully. And then nobody's going to be able to find the English versions of them because there's not so many of them.
He had really some longer lasting series in German. It's the Sharks of Lagos was that was maybe his biggest hit in a way.
Lagos, Nigeria?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Die Haie von Lagos. And something Shelby, the mystery of Shelby or so. Yeah. But I can't promise that everything by him is good, because the critiques he got were a bit mixed, and especially he is just one artist who is a German one who tries almost desperately to look American, but I would think that he doesn't look American.
I didn't think so.
No, but I'm pretty sure that the blurb on the text here praises him just for that. Anyhow.
to get into. So I guess one of the last things I think. Oh yeah, we're almost marking 3 hours, so I think we're gonna be doing goodbye soon. But I just want honorably mention this. Of course, Usagi Yojimbo is always in high rises for me, and this Dragons Below conspiracies surprising. Like I think you mentioned Sleepy before as well, that this is like on more than one issue story. Usually we're used to having him just telling us one story and you have a reward of that, but this one is ongoing. This is issue 2 and it's chapter 2 as well of the storyline. But as always, I'm thoroughly enjoying. So this is our bad guy. He has this scheme and he's captured the friend of Usagi's, and then there's lots of characters involved. Actually, to be honest, I sometimes I was panicking because I honestly couldn't remember if I read the first issue. But like when because I read monthly, or even though it's monthly comic book, but I read it right at the end of the month. And then I always think I never receive it. Somehow I have this panic all the time. Did I order them? And then I had to check. I'm keeping better my comic books in my collection now. When I'm redoing reshuffling my collection, making sure I actually catalog them properly. So now I actually know where I put my stuff. So, but anyway, so really good storyline so far. A lot of entertaining, of course, fight scenes. And then this kind of when Usagi Yojimbo went to that town and found all those dead bodies, I honestly didn't feel like I've seen that yet in Usagi. So it feels quite dark in here, even though it's like cartoony style of drawing, but still those crows, and then all those crows are, in the air. It's just feels very grim. And then Usagi had to basically, in order to preserve Usagi what he is, he puts the bodies back into the, hides them away from them being eaten, kind of the bodies. And then this one of the bad guys of Usagi's or enemy, like they say this way, he sees it, of course, not seeing the whole truth, and he thinks that Usagi killed them all. So now he's on the revenge things, and it's just really well told storyline. And then his way of dealing with death is burn them to crisp. So it puts everything alight. So it's definitely very entertaining. I love this one kind of single issue reprints, I guess. I'm really fan of it. I find this is much more entertaining for me. I always now kind of regret not picking up that ongoing series now, new ongoing series of Usagi Yojimbo, but this is keeps my Usagi Yojimbo interest alive, of course. Right. So I'm going to, and they said that they're going to continue printing it. I guess people are becoming fans of this kind of thing, isn't it? I hope it is true.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm hoping they're going to continue with that fashion, because I actually really happy continuing collecting this kind of format rather than going back and then getting those trade paperbacks, because I'd rather have a comic than trade paperback of Usagi Yojimbo, because of course, if not some people aware, hardbacks are nowhere to be found. Nobody wants to sell them.
So far, they have not announced any Usagi hardbacks with the new color versions.
Yeah.
I hope that eventually comes, though.
They only have trade paperbacks.
Right.
And they are all scattered as well, which storyline they pick to print, apparently. But anyway, this way is definitely a great way for you to get into the world of Usagi, and you'll start to make you regret for not going further with the stuff. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoy this, and it's always, as I say, I always make sure I have it. So there's a couple of comic books for me. There's certain things I always go crazy, did I order it? But yeah, I make sure that also comes in my reading site. So anyway, so I want to thank all of you guys to turn up last minute, to be honest, in my channel, because I know we were promising having Comic Crack going to host, but hopefully Comic Crack will host next week, I presume, and we're gonna show. Yeah, and then so architectural foam panels and columns, Ragamuffin, Scott Connor with his jokes, which is really good. Ricard Westman, Comic Crack has appeared in the comics, of course, and then lots of people previously, Andrew Lopez, Paul Costa, and lots of, I have to scroll before whoever got who came through. Yeah, Francis O'Reilly, with good ones as well mentioning. So anyway, thank you very much for seeing us and listening to us for this blabbing 3 hours of comic book stuff and bonus. And then we see you in Comic Crack channel, as we always travel. We like to travel. So yeah.
Then with a thorough review of Noun 10.
Yes, hopefully they
if we can remember what it's about.
Yeah. You're gonna have to guys reread all the time.
I did reread it just yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, hopefully you guys will remember.
I think maybe I'll just take notes tonight rather than reread it again.
Yeah. Anyways, so thank you very much, guys, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Press the button.